Chapter 765. Yes, this is a town formed by cultivators. It is not on the map and it has been many years. There is an array set up by an almighty in the town. The satellite map can't see it at all. Yi Xiaoya explained, but they are all formed in the past. The latest ones can't be seen. The satellites can capture them and there is no confidentiality. It can only be treated as an ordinary town and can't hold any large-scale important sect activities. An array could actually block the satellite? How powerful must the Almighty be to set it up? It was unimaginable. Xiao Qin suspected that it was done by a cultivator. "Where are we staying?" asked Xiao Qin. "There is an inn here. The price is more expensive than a 5-star hotel in the secular world, but it is not too ridiculous." Yi Xiaoya said, "If you don't have money, of course, you can go back to the car to sleep. Let's find a place to stay first and then investigate the surroundings. I have to plan an escape route." Xiao Qin looked around the town. There were plains, lakes and mountains. The mountains were the best place to escape. The plains and lakes were too easy to find targets. "Sure." Yi Xiaoya agreed. The two of them found a good but not the most high-end inn and checked in. Then they casually ate a mouthful of food and strolled in the direction of the mountains. The demon sect grand meeting had not started yet, and the cultivators here had nothing to do. Therefore there were many wandering around like Xiao Qin and Yi Xiaoya. No one paid attention to them at all. Just as Xiao Qin and Yi Xiaoya were leisurely, a bald fat man in the joyful clan was furious. "Motherf *Ker, he actually said that I stole the extraterrestrial meteoric iron? I, the smiling Mithria, am F** King Sinister, but I wouldn't do such a shameless thing, right? How F** King embarrassing is this? Motherf *Ker who spread this news?" Many people present saw it. It was Long Face and the people from the Green Rock sect who said it. A joyful clan disciple answered weakly and carefully. "It must be that bastard Long-Faced who framed me." The smiling Mithria slammed the table. "He joined forces with the people from the Green Rock sect to deliberately tarnish my reputation. That's for sure." "Yes, I think so too." Regardless of whether the joyful clan's disciples thought so or not, they all knew that this smiling Uncle Master was a person who cared about his reputation. There would definitely be no harm in going along with what he said. As expected, the smiling Mithria said, "You think so too, right?" Then there was no doubt about it. It was this horse-faced man. How infuriating. This Green Rock faction ruined my plans and even dared to join forces with my sworn enemy to defame me. I will never let them off. Investigate. Find out the names of those brats. You must find them for me. Yes, disciple will do it right away. Since the smiling Mithria was infuriated, the joyful clan's disciples naturally moved at full speed and began investigating the identities of Xia Shibin and Xiao Chen. Previously, although the smiling Mithria was robbed of the extraterrestrial meteoric iron, he didn't think much about it. He only secretly bore a grudge against the Green Rock sect and didn't immediately want to take revenge. But now he couldn't. He had to teach them a lesson. The joyful clan had many disciples. They had many eyes and ears and channels. Soon there were results of the investigation. The disciple from before came to the smiling Mithria's room again and said respectfully, "Smiling Uncle Master, there are results." "Tell me quickly." The smiling Mithria pointed at the disciple and asked. "I didn't find out their names, but there is an important clue. According to what someone saw previously, these people aren't from the Green Rock sect." The disciple said carefully. "What? Not from the Green Rock sect? Then which sect are they from? Why are they with the people from the Green Rock sect?" The smiling Mithria was puzzled. "It's like this. The acting sect leader of the Green Rock sect said that he is actually the root of this group of people. This group of people claims to be from the Kuei Mountain sect. Moreover, many people saw that after they came to the auction hall, they were very close to the people from the Kuei Mountain sect and kept chatting." The disciple relayed. "What? The Kuei Mountain sect?" The smiling Mithria frowned immediately. Although it was true that he cared about his reputation, he also knew his place. He still didn't dare to provoke a behemoth like the Kuei Mountain sect. After all, the Kuei Mountain sect was the organizer of the Demon Sect Grand Meet. They also had the support of martial arts sections. Even the candidate for the Demon Sect leader this time would be from the Kuei Mountain sect. In this case, the smiling Mithria really couldn't go against the Kuei Mountain sect. However, he was not willing to let it go just like that. After thinking about it, the smiling Mithria waved his hand at the disciple and gestured for him to leave first. Then he muttered to himself, "The Demon Sect Grand Meet is about to be held. The people from the Kuei Mountain sect will definitely be there. I'll go and sound them out first and make a decision after seeing the situation. Come. The smiling Maitreya made his decision and immediately called for people. After the disciple left, he returned to the room and looked at the smiling Maitreya with some doubts. Uncle Master Smiling, you called for me? Get ready. I'm going to Wutan town personally this time, said the smiling Maitreya. Uncle Master, didn't you say that you weren't going? The disciple was slightly stunned. What? Can't I go now? The smiling Maitreya frowned. No, that's not what I meant. The people from the joyful clan have already left. Master, if you want to go, you can only go alone. The disciple hurriedly explained. Oh, that's not a problem. Pack up and follow me, said the smiling Maitreya. Yes. The disciple was instantly overjoyed. It was a rare opportunity to accompany the elders of the clan on a trip. If he could receive a few pointers along the way, he would benefit immensely. Even without pointers, the cultivation resources that the clan subsidized were plenty. Moreover, if he had a good relationship with a certain elder, it was also the capital to show off in the clan. The joyful clan was not far from Wutan town. They arrived at their destination on the same night. They came to the most luxurious inn in Wutan town, the Demon Gate Inn. The smiling Maitreya was a person who valued his reputation. Naturally, he had to stay here on a trip. Even the disciple enjoyed a feeling of nobility. I heard that the people from the Kuei mountain sect are staying here too? Asked the smiling Maitreya. I'll go and find out now. The disciple hurriedly went to find out more information. Not long after, he returned and said to the smiling Maitreya, Uncle Master, I found out that the Kuei mountain sect disciple Cheng Zhongfan who spoke to the auctioneers at the previous auction is here too. This person's status in the Kuei mountain sect isn't too high. What do you think? Oh, help me invite him over. The smiling Maitreya thought for a while and said, Yes, I'll go now. The disciple nodded and went to invite Cheng Zhongfan. Indeed, as he said before, Cheng Zhongfan's status in the Kuei mountain sect was not very high. If the smiling Maitreya had invited someone like Ma Wuji, he would definitely not have come. However, when he invited Cheng Zhongfan still went gladly after hearing about it. During this period, Cheng Zhongfan was very active. He went up and down so everyone in the sect would look for him. Senior brother smiling face, I wonder why you're looking for me? Cheng Zhongfan walked into the room with a smile. Although he was puzzled about why the smiling Maitreya was looking for him, one more friend meant one more path. He had to consider for the secular Cheng family. Junior brother Cheng, you're here. Sit. The smiling Maitreya smiled and pointed to the seat opposite him. Hurry up and serve junior brother Cheng some tea. Yes. The disciple quickly poured hot tea and stood by the door, observing the movement outside to prevent anyone from eavesdropping. Senior brother smiling face, you're? Cheng Zhongfan saw that the smiling Maitreya was so serious and even asked the disciple to guard the door. He was a little suspicious and did not know what the other party wanted. Junior brother Cheng, I'll cut to the chase. We're both demonic cultivators, so there's something I want to ask you. If you can tell me, then tell me. If you can't, I won't force you. Don't hurt our friendship because of this. The smiling Maitreya said. Oh. I wonder what it is. Cheng Zhongfan thought to himself, what kind of friendship do we have? If you didn't have something to ask me, you probably wouldn't even know me, right? But he said, as long as I can tell you, I'll tell you. Good, straightforward. Junior brother Cheng, the smiling Maitreya will definitely be your good friend. If there's anything in the future, junior brother Cheng, just tell me. I owe junior brother Cheng a favor. The smiling Maitreya laughed. But these words made Cheng Zhongfan's heart tremble. He just said that he would say what he could, but the smiling Maitreya used words to seal his mouth. It meant that he owed a favor, so he had to say it even if he didn't want to. This made Cheng Zhongfan secretly complain. But he could only say, Senior brother smiling face, please say it. It's like this. You may have heard that I was framed at the previous auction. The smiling Maitreya said. Cheng Zhongfan naturally heard that the smiling Maitreya was much stronger than Yang Jian's meteoric iron, but this had nothing to do with him, so he just took it as a novelty. At this moment, he nodded and said, yes. Yes, the long-faced man and those guys who won the meteoric iron conspired against me, pretending that I stole it. Damn it, I'm so angry. The smiling Maitreya was angry when he said this. Everyone knows that I, the smiling Maitreya, care about my reputation the most. How can I rob someone halfway? Even if I want it, I won't fight with a junior. That's true. Cheng Zhongfan echoed, but he still couldn't figure out why the smiling Maitreya was looking for him. What I want to ask now is that I heard that the people who won the meteoric iron are from your Quishan sect. Someone saw you talking together before and you tacitly acknowledged their identity? The smiling Mithra finally got to the point. Qing Zhongfan suddenly understood. It turned out that the smiling Mithra thought that Yang Jian was from the Quishan sect. But he wanted to refute, but he didn't dare to speak casually. Chapter 766. The smiling Mithra could not be offended, but could he afford to offend someone from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau? That was even more so. The Cheng family still had to rely on them in the future. If he betrayed them now, wouldn't they become mortal enemies in the future? Junior brother Cheng, is it hard to say? The smiling Mithra asked Cheng Zhongfan with a smile. This. Cheng Zhongfan's mind raced as he tried to think of a countermeasure. After hesitating for a moment, he gritted his teeth and said, "Actually, it's not that I can't say it, it's just that it's a little hard to say." The smiling Mithra knew that Cheng Zhongfan was negotiating, and it was not that he really could not say it. He immediately smiled and said, "Brother Cheng, don't worry. If you have any problems in the future, you can look for me directly. This is our personal friendship." "Alright, I'll say it then." Cheng Zhongfan sighed and said, "I didn't say it before because I suffered a great loss in the hands of this person." "Oh? As a disciple of the Kuei Mountain faction, you suffered a great loss in the hands of someone else? In that case, this person isn't from the Kuei Mountain faction?" The smiling Mithra's eyes widened in surprise. "That's right, his name is Xiao Chen. He's not from the Kuei Mountain faction." Cheng Zhongfan did not dare to offend Yang Jianan. He vaguely knew that Yang Jianan and Xiao Chen had a grudge against each other, and so did Xiao Chen. In for a penny, in for a pound, in for a pound. He directly blamed it on Xiao Chen and planned to use the smiling Mithra to kill Xiao Chen. "What do you mean?" The smiling Mithra squinted his eyes and asked. "It's like this." Cheng Zhongfan told him about the grudge between him and Xiao Chen, as well as the time Xiao Chen extorted 100 million from him. Finally he sighed and said, "It's so embarrassing. My Kuei Mountain faction can't do anything to a small family's disciple. How sad. I even have to abide by a 3-year agreement? You mean you're afraid of him, so you had no choice but to cover for him and say he's from the Kuei Mountain faction?" The smiling Mithra frowned. "That's right. That's why I was too embarrassed to say it before." Cheng Zhongfan nodded. Xiao Chen is especially good at impersonating others. At that time he impersonated the deputy chief of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, Yang Jianan. This person is also Xiao Chen's enemy. He must have wanted to pin the blame on Yang Jianan. The person he was pretending to be was Yang Jianan? The smiling Mithra was shocked. "Yes, that's the situation. Xiao Chen is a vengeful person. It must be because you bid against him, senior brother smiling face. That's why he conspired with the long-faced man to kill you." Cheng Zhongfan analyzed. "According to what you said, it really is the case." Smiling Mithra believed most of it. Actually, as long as Xiao Chen wasn't from the Quishan sect, everything would be fine. He nodded in satisfaction and said to the disciple at the door, "You heard it too, right? Go and inquire about this Xiao Chen, then come back and report." "Yes." The disciple obeyed and went to inquire. It was impossible for smiling Mithra to completely believe in Cheng Zhongfan's words. He also wanted to inquire about this Xiao Chen and see what the situation was. Of course he couldn't say it directly but just hinted at it. Then, smiling Mithra said to Cheng Zhongfan, "Thank you, junior brother Cheng. If there's anything in the future, don't hesitate to ask." "Well said. Thank you, senior brother smiling face." Cheng Zhongfan was overjoyed. He didn't stay any longer. He got up and cupped his fists to bid farewell. After leaving the room, Cheng Zhongfan quickly returned to his room. He took out his phone and prepared to take credit from Yang Jianan. He successfully diverted smiling Mithra's attention and shifted his hatred to Xiao Chen. Yang Jianan should be very happy when he finds out, right? He dialed the number but it was not in the service area. After a long time he finally got through. At this time Xiao Chen had just returned to the inn. The signal in the mountains was not good, so he didn't receive the call. "Mr. Cheng Zhongfan? What's the matter?" Because Cheng Zhongfan dialed the public number of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, Xiao Chen and Cheng Zhongfan's conversation had to be disguised as Yang Jianan's. "Deputy Bureau Chief Yang, how are you? It's like this. I have something good to tell you." Cheng Zhongfan laughed and said. "What's the good thing?" Xiao Chen was stunned. "It's like this. Today I met smiling Mithra of the Joyful Clan. Then he asked me about you." Cheng Zhongfan said. "Asked about me? What's going on? Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat as he interrupted Cheng Zhongfan. Deputy Bureau Chief Yang, listen to me. It's like this. As he spoke, Cheng Zhongfan told him what happened previously, including how he successfully shifted his hatred to Xiao Chen, F***CKU motherf***ker. After listening to it, Xiao Chen almost cursed it out loud. Are you F***king sick? Shifting it to me again and again, and it's even more troublesome than before. After all, Yang Jianan was alone, and he had the Supernatural Investigation Bureau behind him. He didn't need to be afraid of anything. However, Xiao Chen's identity was different. There was still the Xiao family. However, although Xiao Chen was annoyed, he couldn't say anything to Cheng Zhongfan. He couldn't tell him to look for Smiling Methria of the Joyful Clan to change his story, right? That wasn't realistic. Even if he said it, it would only make things worse. Alright, I got it. Xiao Chen hung up the phone plainly. Deputy Bureau Chief Yang? Cheng Zhongfan was a little stunned. Why does it sound like Yang Jianan is very indifferent? It doesn't seem to be a big deal. Isn't this a good thing? Cheng Zhongfan couldn't figure it out. After hanging up the phone, Xiao Chen immediately said to Yi Xiaoye, who was taking a shower in the bathroom, "Little Yi, hurry up and leave. Something happened. Don't stay here anymore." What happened? Yi Xiaoye was a little puzzled. It can't be explained in a few words. Let's walk and talk. Xiao Chen said in a hurry. I'm covered in bubbles now. At least I have to take a shower. Although Yi Xiaoye was puzzled, she still agreed. And hurry up. Xiao Chen said, I'm going to check out first. You wait for me in the room. Okay. Yi Xiaoye responded. After Xiao Chen finished speaking, he went downstairs. Because the deposit here was not small, and Xiao Chen didn't want to leave quietly, it would affect the Devil Star sect, so it was better to check out. Shopkeeper, I want to check out. Xiao Chen said to the shopkeeper downstairs. Didn't you just check in? Why do you want to check out? Is the environment not to your liking? The shopkeeper looked at Xiao Chen and was a little puzzled. If the room is not good, there's still a better room. Oh, we have something to do at the last minute. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and said calmly. Alright, but although you didn't stay for a full day, the room fee still has to be charged based on a day. This is non-negotiable. The shopkeeper said, I'll settle it for you now. At this moment, outside the door of the inn, the smiling Methria walked over quickly. Are you sure they are staying here? Yes, according to the registration records of the Devil Sect's grand meeting, the Devil Star Sect's Xiao Chen is staying here. The disciple nodded affirmatively. As the fact that the White Fox with Xiao Chen had long been exposed, Xiao Chen didn't need to appear as the White Fox again. The registered name was naturally Xiao Chen, but the Joyful Clan disciple found out directly. He actually dares to mess with Longface. A small secular family disciple actually dares to be so arrogant. This time I must make him a cripple. The smiling Methria sneered. He had suffered such a big loss. As someone who cared about his reputation, how could he not get back at Xiao Chen? Wouldn't he be laughed at to death? Therefore he was already letting Xiao Chen off easy by making Xiao Chen disabled. That's right. Cut off his legs and penis, then cut off his arms and turn him into a human stick. Let's see if he still dares to frame Uncle Master. The disciple said. Ah, Junior Xiao Chen, I'm coming. The smiling Methria laughed and then strode towards the inn. As a cultivator, Xiao Chen's six senses were sharp. Although the others in the inn couldn't hear the conversation between the smiling Methria and his disciple, Xiao Chen had heard it. His heart skipped a beat. Xiao Chen thought to himself, don't tell me they are here so soon? He didn't hesitate and made a prompt decision. Innkeeper, I still have something to do. I'll take my leave first. I'll come back to collect the money later. You can clean the room tonight. The innkeeper was stunned. It'll be ready soon. Aren't you going to wait? No. Xiao Chen had already walked upstairs quickly as he spoke. At this moment, the smiling Methria and his disciple pushed the door open and walked into the inn. Secretly thinking that it was a close shave, Xiao Chen increased his speed to the limit. Innkeeper, I have a question for you. The smiling Methria walked in and asked the innkeeper directly. The innkeeper's heart skipped a beat. The strength of this person's advanced demon general was revealed. He didn't dare to be negligent. What's the matter? There is a Devil Star sect disciple named Xiao Chen staying here, right? Asked the smiling Methria. Let me check. How exquisite was the innkeeper's businessman. He knew that the smiling Methria was here to seek revenge, but this kind of grudge had nothing to do with him as a businessman, so he didn't want to offend either side. He deliberately delayed a little time. He was being extremely benevolent, and he wouldn't hide it and offend the smiling Mithriya. And go ahead and check. The smiling Mithriya was very satisfied with the innkeeper's attitude. He was a person who cared about his reputation. If the innkeeper was hesitant and refused to do as he said, then he might be furious. But now he enjoyed it very much and looked around proudly. I found it. There is indeed such a person, said the innkeeper. Which room is he staying in? Asked the smiling Mithriya. Upstairs, room 503, said the innkeeper. Are they in the room? Asked the smiling Mithriya. Yes. The innkeeper nodded. Thank you, Tip. The smiling Mithriya nodded and said to the disciple. Then he strode upstairs. After the disciple heard it, he quickly took out 2 stacks of bills from his backpack and gave them to the innkeeper. Then he ran upstairs with the smiling Mithriya. Chapter 767. The shopkeeper naturally accepted it and shook his head. He had done what he could. Whether Xiao Qin could run away depended on his luck. However, it seemed that Xiao Qin knew that someone was looking for him, so he left in a hurry without taking the refund money. But how did he find out? Standing at the door of room 503, smiling Mithriya asked his disciple to knock on the door, but there was no movement from inside. He was a little confused, so he couldn't help but knock on the door himself. However, there was still no movement from inside. Quang dang. Smiling Mithriya directly kicked the door open and rushed in. In the room, the window was open and there was water vapor in the room with the fragrance of a bath. Obviously, there was someone in the room before, but now they had escaped by jumping out of the window. Smiling Mithriya immediately rushed to the window and drove to the street downstairs. A man was pulling a woman whose hair was still wet and running. Damn, he ran away. Let's chase. Smiling Mithriya jumped out of the window directly, and his disciple followed closely. When Xiao Qin returned to the room, Yi Xiaoya was still wiping the water stains on her body. She was shocked when she saw Xiao Qin coming in. She even teased him and told him not to look. However, in a hurry, how could Xiao Qin have time to appreciate this? Xiao Qin quickly picked up Yi Xiaoya's clothes and roughly put them on her. As for her underwear, he didn't have time to wear it. He just put on a coat. During this period, he inevitably touched some parts that shouldn't be touched, but Xiao Qin didn't have the time to think too much. After he was done, he pulled Yi Xiaoya and jumped out of the window. Hey Xiao Qin, what are you doing? Do you want to drag me to death? Yi Xiaoya's hair hadn't dried yet, so she asked uncomfortably. Someone is chasing me. Hurry up and run. Xiao Qin said in a hurry. It can't be, right? What the hell is going on? Yi Xiaoya was shocked. Is this the reason why Xiao Qin was in a hurry to check out? It seemed like he had discovered something earlier. But now, even though Xiao Qin ran very fast, he still felt that someone was chasing behind him. He turned around and saw that it was indeed the smiling Mithriya and his disciple running over. The speed of these two people made Xiao Qin groan inwardly. Although Xiao Qin was a cultivator, his running speed was not much faster than these cultivators. Moreover, whether it was the smiling Mithriya or his disciple, their strength was far higher than Xiao Qin's. One was an expert at the peak of the 10th level of the great perfection of the demon general realm, and the other was an expert at the great perfection of the demon master realm. Although Xiao Qin could kill the latter, the two of them were competing in speed with him. Xiao Qin was somewhat stretched. In addition, Yi Xiaoya's speed was not as fast as Xiao Qin's, which further slowed down their overall speed. Xiao Qin, you run by yourself. I can't run fast and I'll drag you down. Yi Xiaoya also felt that the two people behind her were very fast. If she continued like this, she would definitely affect Xiao Qin, so she was ready to give up. He shouldn't be looking for me. He won't make things difficult for me. You think too simply. If he can't catch me, he will deal with you. How could Xiao Qin give up on Yi Xiaoya? Let's not talk about the ambiguous relationship between the two. Even if there wasn't, with the situation that Yi Xiaoya had helped him many times, Xiao Qin couldn't easily give up. Xiao Qin directly picked up Yi Xiaoya, carried her on his shoulder in her exclamation, and continued to run forward. Xiao Qin, you can't run away. If you know what's good for you, stop and let me cripple you. As for your friends and companions, I don't want to make things difficult for them. The smiling Mithriya was getting closer and closer. Moreover, Xiao Qin had now run out of the town and was running in the direction of the mountain range that he had scouted before. He wasn't afraid of being heard by others because there was no one nearby. Xiao Qin didn't answer and continued to run. Cripple? Unless he was stupid, he wouldn't let himself be captured. Fortunately, he had scouted an escape route as soon as he came. He didn't expect that it would not be useful in the Demon Gate conference, but it would be used in advance. Every debt has a debtor. I don't want to make things difficult for you, but if you don't stop, don't blame me for crippling your companions when I catch up with you. The smiling Maitreya said coldly, you also know that I am an upright person. I will do what I say. Although I disdain to make things difficult for juniors and innocent people, now that you are running together, you are accomplices. Xiao Chen's female companion listened carefully. If you don't want to suffer together, persuade and stop Xiao Chen from continuing to run. This is the right way. Yi Xiaoye wouldn't help him persuade, but she was anxious in her heart. Xiao Chen, they're getting closer and closer. What should we do? Even if we continue to run, we will be caught sooner or later. You better put me down. Xiao Chen took a look behind him and cursed, F***ck me. He looked around and saw that there was no one else other than the two people behind him. He gritted his teeth and slapped his waist, summoning his flying sword. He carried Yi Xiaoye and jumped onto the flying sword, driving the flying sword towards the mountain range. Old bald donkey, chase me. Xiao Chen smiled coldly, if you have the ability, then get a jet to chase after me. You're exhausting me to death. Yi Xiaoye didn't know what was going on. When she saw Xiao Chen casually waving his sword, and the two of them flew into the sky, she was shocked. What kind of magical martial arts technique was this? She had never seen it before. How could it fly? Even with a flying-type magic artifact, only a very high-level cultivator would be able to use it. What level of strength did Xiao Chen possess? Moreover, ordinary flying instruments were flying carpets or small spaceships. How could there be a sword like Xiao Chen's? Uncle Master, they are flying? The disciple chasing behind exclaimed in horror. I can see it. You don't have to tell me. The smiling Maitreya's face was gloomy. His trademark smiling face was now gloomy. Then, what should we do now? Should we still chase? The disciple saw that his Uncle Master was angry and couldn't help but ask carefully. Chase my A***s. Can we catch up? The smiling Maitreya stopped in his tracks. Uncle Master, how can they fly? How did they do it? Looking at Xiao Chen and Yi Xiaoye, who had become small dots in the distance, the disciple couldn't help but ask curiously. He should have a flying instrument. But looking at his current strength, he is at most a level 4 or level fiend master. How can he use a flying instrument? At this point, the smiling Maitreya couldn't help but feel envious. And this flying instrument looks very small. Although I didn't see it clearly, it is definitely a good thing. Uncle Master, do you mean that we should snatch it? The disciple asked with shifty eyes. Of course, even if they snatched it back, it would have nothing to do with this disciple. But if they could help their Uncle Master snatch a Dharma treasure, the sect would definitely reward them handsomely when they returned. We can't even catch up with them. Snatch my foot. The smiling Maitreya sneered and said, Go back now and immediately send a message to all the joyful clan disciples in Wutan town. Surround the corner of the mountain range and start searching the mountain. I don't believe that they won't come down after going up. This mountain range could only be climbed on one side. The other side was a precipitous cliff with an endless sea below. Therefore, it was impossible for Xiao Chen to leave from the other side. If he wanted to leave, he could only go down the mountain from this side. Therefore, the smiling Maitreya watched from afar and then sent the disciple to find people to search the mountain. He didn't believe that they could hide forever. Anyway, there was still some time before the demon sect grand meeting. These joyful clan disciples had nothing to do here. He might as well let them do the work. Yes. The disciple responded and turned to leave. But he was stopped by the smiling Maitreya again. Wait. Send a message to the sect again and ask our joyful clan disciples to come here in large numbers. This flying instrument is mine. The smiling Maitreya instructed. If it was just to get back at them previously, he definitely wouldn't have mobilized all the disciples of the sect. But now, for the sake of the flying instrument, he was already a little crazy. This was a good thing. Yes. The disciple quickly answered. Also, remember to keep your mouth shut. Don't say what you shouldn't say. The smiling Maitreya reminded. In this Wutan town, there were many sects that were not weaker than the joyful clan. If there were too many people and the news of the flying instrument was spread, what if other sects came to snatch it? Wouldn't that be making a wedding dress for others? I understand. The disciple also knew that the situation was serious. He answered seriously and turned to leave. The smiling Maitreya squinted his eyes and stared at the mountain range from afar. Xiao Chen vaguely saw that the smiling Maitreya and his disciple had stopped and heaved a sigh of relief. He brought Yi Xiaoye and landed on a towering tree on the mountain range. Phew. Xiao Chen let out a long sigh. It's fine for now. That scared me. Alright, Xiao Chen, how can you fly? Your flying instrument is so strange. Why is it a sword? Yi Xiaoya looked at Xiao Chen with some surprise. I seem to have mentioned it to you before. I'm not an ordinary cultivator. I'm a superpower user, Xiao Chen said. So it was a superpower before? Yi Xiaoya suddenly widened her eyes. This sword is actually not a magic weapon? It's a magic weapon, but it's made by me. It's not very valuable. It's just a broken sword sold in a handicraft shop. Xiao Chen actually coveted that piece of extraterrestrial meteoric iron. If that thing was used to refine a flying sword, it should be very useful, right? However, that material was now given to the research institute. It was not good for Xiao Chen to keep it for himself. If there were leftovers after the research, Xiao Chen did not mind taking some back. After all, refining a flying sword didn't require too much material. Just a small piece was enough. As long as the sword body was made of extraterrestrial meteoric iron, the sword hilt could be made of any material. But now was not the time to think about this. Xiao Chen's first task was to think about how to escape the pursuit of the smiling Mithraea. Now that some of his strength had been exposed, especially the flying sword. Previously, Xiao Chen's biggest headache was how to explain the flying sword. If everyone knew that he was a cultivator and came to find trouble with him to study him, then Xiao Chen could only live a life of escape again. Chapter 768. But now listening to Yi Xiaoya say that there was a flying magic weapon, this was a very good excuse. So that's how it is. I thought it was a flying magic weapon that I could also drive. Yi Xiaoya suddenly felt a little regretful after listening. That's right, Xiaoyi, tell me in detail what a flying artifact is, its uses and characteristics, its specific value and how to control it. Don't leave anything out. Xiao Chen needed to understand all this before he could disguise the flying sword as a flying artifact. Hey, you don't know? Yi Xiaoya was stunned and then said, yes, you didn't know anything about the martial arts world before. You didn't even know martial arts. Now that your strength is high, I subconsciously thought that you knew everything. Now that I think about it, you are still the same as before. Yes. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and said, I have said that I am a paranormal, not a cultivator. Naturally, I don't know these things. In order not to attract attention, I have to know about flying magic weapons. A flying magic weapon is a kind of magic weapon that is controlled by the cultivator's mind. The cultivator who uses it must have a strong mind that can resonate with the magic weapon. Only then can they drive it. Yi Xiaoya explained, however, this kind of magic weapon was made in ancient times. Now, very few cultivators can make it, including some sects that specialize in casting weapons. They can only cast some relatively solid weapons for martial arts cultivation. They can't turn it into a magic weapon. No wonder. Xiao Chen nodded. Meteoric iron was a good material. Although it was precious, the competition was not particularly fierce. Perhaps it was also related to the fact that it couldn't be used to refine magic weapons. If it could be used to refine magic weapons, I am afraid that no matter how expensive it would be crazy to fight for it. But now there was no need to fight to the end. However, Yi Xiaoya's words made Xiao Chen very happy. Since the magic artifact was powered by a cultivator's will, no one would be able to find any problems with his flying sword. In any case, there was no way to power it. It all depended on one's talent. Xiao Chen breathed a sigh of relief. In Xiao Chen's view, this thought should be something similar to spiritual sense or spiritual force. As for the specifics, he was not a cultivator, so he could not understand it. Are we going to stay here forever? Yi Xiaoya couldn't help but ask as she looked at the rolling mountains and dense forests around them. The smiling Mithraea is still at the foot of the mountain. We can only stay here. Xiao Chen sighed. He was definitely no match for the smiling Mithraea, even if it was a sneak attack. Where is it? Why didn't I see it? How do you know? Yi Xiaoya looked down the mountain but found nothing. Don't forget that I'm an esper. Xiao Chen did not explain too much. His six senses were powerful, and he could vaguely see the figure at the foot of smiling Mithraea mountain. However, he did not know where the disciple had gone. Then let's not waste time. Let's do dual cultivation. Yi Xiaoya thought about it and suggested. Xiao Chen did not refuse, but he glanced at Yi Xiaoya lecherously. It's daytime now. Aren't you afraid that I'll peep? If the smiling Mithraea stays here all the time, we can't go down. What can we do if we look? Maybe we'll die here for the rest of our lives. Yi Xiaoya shrugged. Besides, I'm the only one here. There are no Shinjingxian, Tang Tang or Qing Menjing. You can only continue to look if you're tired of it. You have to look even if you throw up. Well, okay. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. What did it have to do with the eldest lady? He had not seen it. Yi Xiaoya directly took off her clothes. She was a devil cultivator. She was also flexible on the tree branches. Her movements were not affected at all. Xiao Chen also took off his clothes and began dual cultivation with Yi Xiaoya. Dual cultivation with Yi Xiaoya now was actually a one-sided improvement for Yi Xiaoya's strength. It did not benefit Xiao Chen much because her strength was too low. The gap between her and Xiao Chen was too big unless she caught up one day. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, a few hours had passed. The disciple sent by the smiling Maitreya came back. Behind him was a group of people. Obviously they were the helpers, the disciples of the joyful clan. Greetings, martial uncle, smiling face. The disciples hurriedly cupped their fists and greeted. Junior brother, smiling face, why did you call us all here in such a hurry? What's the matter? A tall, bearded cultivator came over and asked. He was the leader of the joyful clan in this devil sect grand meeting. He was also the senior brother of the smiling Maitreya. His nickname was Old Taoist Dianlong. Senior brother Dianlong, come over and talk. The smiling Maitreya could hide it from these disciples, but there was no way to hide it from Old Taoist Dianlong. However, the rules of the joyful clan were very clear. That was, whoever found the magic treasure belonged to him. Even if other disciples helped, they would only be rewarded by the clan after returning, and would not get a share of the treasure. Of course, if there were many treasures and someone took the initiative to share it, then it was another matter. Therefore, the smiling Maitreya was not afraid of Old Taoist Dianlong robbing him of his treasure. Old Taoist Dianlong was slightly stunned. Then he and the smiling Maitreya came to a nearby place where there was no one. After looking around, he said, if you have something to say, just say it. The person who framed me at the auction has been found. He is in this mountain. The smiling Maitreya lowered his voice. That's not right. It's just to chase after a small enemy. Do you have to mobilize so many people? Old Taoist Dianlong was stunned and looked at the smiling Maitreya with a puzzled look. Senior brother Dianlong, you don't know. The reason why I'm mobilizing so many people is that this kid has a flying magic treasure. The smiling Maitreya said, moreover, it looks very exquisite and advanced. He, a devil master level cultivator, can actually activate it. This magic treasure is not simple. Is it true? He has such a magic treasure. Does he have any background that we can't afford to offend? Old Taoist Dianlong was stunned and asked with some concern. Of course not. Don't worry, senior brother. I have investigated clearly. This guy is called Xiao Chen. He is a disciple of a small family in the secular world. Although he also has a martial arts background, he is just a nominal disciple of the Devil Star sect. The smiling Maitreya said, such a person is nothing to be afraid of. So that's how it is. Congratulations, junior brother. You got such a good magic treasure. Old Taoist Dianlong said enviously. This kind of flying magic treasure was very rare in the sect. Even he did not have one. However, he also knew that it was useless to covet it. The sect rules were there. If they wanted to violate it, their senior brother would definitely punish them. Haha, when senior brother goes out to do something, you can lend it to senior brother. Although the smiling Maitreya also knew the sect rules, it was another matter if old Taoist Dianlong would work hard to help. Therefore, he directly gave him some benefits. Really? Old Taoist Dianlong was delighted. He then nodded and said, don't worry. Senior brother will definitely help you to kill this enemy. Then I will have to trouble senior brother. The smiling Maitreya was overjoyed. In his opinion, that flying magic treasure was already in his pocket. The joyful clan disciples surrounded the bottom of the mountain. There was a sentry post at a certain distance. The smiling Maitreya did not have to watch from afar like before. He was much more relaxed. However, he also knew that it was not a solution to just watch. Xiao Chen was a cultivator. He would not starve to death in the mountain. He could simply eat anything to satisfy his hunger. If he wanted to waste time with him, it would not be a problem even for 8 to 10 years. Therefore, he waited for the other joyful clan disciples to come and conduct a large-scale search of the mountain. In the blink of an eye, a few days had passed. Xiao Chen did not move at the bottom of the mountain. Every day he cultivated with Yi Xiaoya. Other than his own strength not improving, he had a lot of luck with women every day, or more accurately, it should be a feast for his eyes. On this day there was another group of people at the bottom of the mountain. This made Xiao Chen immediately alert. Even his and Yi Xiaoya's cultivation stopped. What's wrong? Yi Xiaoya felt that Xiao Chen had stopped. She opened her eyes and asked, there are some people at the bottom of the mountain again. Xiao Chen frowned. I don't know what new ideas the smiling Mithriya has. Actually, although Xiaoqin said so, he could roughly guess in his heart. Probably the smiling Mithriya could not wait any longer and wanted to bring people to search the mountain. But in this way Xiaoqin would be in danger. With so many people, it was hard to guarantee that he would not be discovered. Although he could step on the flying sword and run, Xiaoqin was not willing to do so. Now, he had only revealed his trump card in front of the smiling Mithriya. If everyone knew about it, it would be meaningless. Moreover, with so many people here, who knew if there would be something that could counter his flying? For example, a bow and arrow. Or perhaps they also had flying Dharma treasures. At the thought of this, Xiaoqin could not help but feel a little regretful. He thought that after he went up the mountain he could drag it out with the smiling Mithriya. When the other party lost his patience he would definitely leave. If he had known that this would happen he might as well forcefully break out of the encirclement and fly out in another direction. Thinking about it, the smiling Mithriya would not be able to catch up even if he wanted to. Indeed, Xiaoqin's guess was right. He saw a sage-like man come to the smiling Mithriya's side. The smiling Mithriya was very respectful to him. Then this man asked someone to carry something that looked like a small boat. The smiling Mithriya and Taoist Dianlong boarded it. After that, the sage-like man also boarded the small boat. Then the small boat slowly rose into the sky. It was actually a flying Dharma treasure. Ha! The sage-like man shouted. The small boat began to fly at an extremely fast speed. It casually circled the foot of the mountain twice. When Xiaoqin saw this he felt a chill in his heart. This speed was almost on par with his flying sword. The only advantage he had was completely gone. This made Xiaoqin secretly complain. He had missed the best opportunity to escape, but it was useless to regret it. Now he could only think of a countermeasure. However, the only thing that made Xiaoqin feel at ease was that the small boat could not rise too high. This was different from the flying sword. Therefore, as long as Xiaoqin floated, the other party should not be able to do anything. However, Xiaoqin's body had limited yuan qi, so he could not keep floating. Therefore, this was not a good solution. The only thing he could do now was to take one step at a time. At the foot of the mountain, the smiling Mithriya sat in the eldest senior brother's flying shuttle. He was very relaxed and happy. Eldest senior brother, I didn't expect you to come personally. You even brought a flying Dharma treasure. This time that kid Xiaoqin will not be able to escape. Chapter 769. Yes, we don't have many flying instruments in our sect. Now that you've discovered one, it's a great thing. This is a big matter for the sect. Naturally, I have to come and help. This sage-like man was the eldest senior brother of the joyful clan. In his eyes it was no longer about personal gains and losses, but the sect's gains and losses. He was going to enter the upper echelons of the sect in the future. If he was not the sect master, he would be the deputy sect master. Therefore, as long as there were benefits for the sect, he would spare no effort. What's more, according to the sect's rules, although the magic tool belonged to the discoverer, after the discoverer passed away, the magic tool would be passed on to the disciples of the sect and could not be given to outsiders. Therefore, in general, it belonged to the sect. Thank you, eldest senior brother, for your help. Smiling Mithriya said excitedly. Yes, I'll let the joyful clan disciples start searching the mountain now. Then we'll take the flying shuttle and patrol back and forth. Once the disciples send a message, we can rush over immediately, said the eldest senior brother. It's all up to you, eldest senior brother. Smiling Mithriya quickly responded. The eldest senior brother was a man of his word. With a few instructions, all the joyful clan disciples got into action. Very soon, a large number of disciples started to go up the mountain to search. Smiling Mithriya and old Taoist Bien Long boarded the flying shuttle with him and hovered above the mountain range. As the flying shuttle didn't fly very high, it was impossible to overlook the entire mountain range to search for people. Moreover, even if they could overlook it without professional aerial photography equipment, they didn't have sharp sixth senses like Xiaoqin. They couldn't see the situation below clearly from such a long distance. Quickly put on your clothes. This is bad. Xiaoqin said to Yi Xiaoya anxiously. What's wrong? Yi Xiaoya was at a loss. More people are coming. They're coming up the mountain. Xiaoqin said, if I'm not wrong, it should be Smiling Mithriya who got reinforcements from the sect. Moreover, their target isn't just me but my flying sword. That can't be. What should we do now? Fight with them or continue to run? Yi Xiaoya was a little worried when she heard it. But the sea is over there. The sea? Xiaoqin didn't know if there were any islands in the middle of the sea. If he kept flying without a place to rest, his vitality would definitely be exhausted and he would fall into the sea and die. We definitely can't stay here. Let's observe the situation first. It would be best if we can kill 1 or 2 Joyous Clan disciples and wear their clothes to fish in troubled waters. As they spoke, the 2 of them had already put on their clothes. However, if the enemy did not move, they would not move. Xiaochen was still on the tree. As long as the Joyful Clan disciples did not discover them, there was no need for them to take the initiative to move. As Xiaochen was deep in the mountains, the Joyful Clan disciples would not be able to find him for a while. Yi Xiaoya was bored to death. She leaned on Xiaochen and said, "I will sleep for a while. Wake me up when they come." Xiaochen nodded and looked around vigilantly. After about half a day, footsteps could be heard nearby. 3 Joyful Clan disciples were walking towards them. Xiaochen was slightly shocked. However, Xiaochen was confident that they would not discover him so easily since he was on the tree. However, when they walked closer, Xiaochen was speechless. This was because each of the 3 disciples was holding something similar to a handheld instrument in their hands. As they walked, they kept scanning around. Biological detector. Xiaochen was shocked. He reckoned that it was something like this. It was very likely and it seemed to be very advanced. The detector would not give an early warning to some small flying birds and insects. It would only flash a red light. Xiaochen was originally hoping to get lucky. However, when the 3 of them walked closer, the detector suddenly emitted a sharp, beep beep beep, sound. "Who is it? Come out." The tall disciple who was leading the group shouted and looked around vigilantly. Xiaochen secretly thought that this thing was really advanced. Science was really different. He had already hidden his breath, but it was ineffective against scientific instruments. Now, the martial arts sex method of finding people was also quite advanced. However, since Xiaochen was on the tree, these disciples would not be able to find him in a short period of time. Therefore, Xiaochen did not plan to jump down immediately. "You don't want to come out?" The tall disciple saw that no one responded and seemed to be embarrassed. "It's fine if you don't want to come out." Junior Ba immediately released the signal to inform the elders of the sect. They will definitely be able to find him. "Yes." A disciple next to him quickly responded. "Damn it." Xiaochen cursed in his heart. He had no choice but to jump down from the tree. He looked at the 3 of them vigilantly. Junior brother Ba, who had been instructed, also looked at Xiaochen with a faint smile. It seemed like he had no intention of releasing the signal to call for help. Xiaochen saw the greed in the eyes of these 3 people. It was as if in their eyes he was a prey. "I'm out. What do you want?" "I don't know you." Xiaochen asked, pretending to be puzzled. "Okay kid, don't pretend. You are quite bold. You actually dare to provoke Martial Uncle smiling. Aren't you afraid of being beaten to death?" The tall disciple looked up and down at Xiaochen and said, "If you don't want to die, come with us 3. Xiaochen frowned slightly. He was a little confused about the attitude of these 3 people. "I'm just a casual cultivator who came to watch the Demon Gate Grand Meeting. I don't know any." Martial Uncle smiling. "You don't know? A casual cultivator? Then what are you doing here?" The tall disciple asked with a faint smile. "I'm just a casual cultivator. Naturally, I'm not qualified to participate in the Demon Gate Grand Meeting. I only knew about it when I came here. Therefore, I walked around this mountain range out of boredom. I hope the 2 young masters won't make things difficult for me," Xiaochen said with his fists cupped. Xiaochen wanted to muddle through. If he could avoid conflict with these people, then he would. From the aura that these 3 people unintentionally released, they were not weak. 2 level 3 devil masters and 1 great perfection devil master. Even if Xiaochen could kill them, it would not be easy to kill all 3 of them at once. Lie, continue to lie." The tall disciple sneered and said to Junior brother Ba beside him, "Junior brother Ba, take out the portrait and let him see." Okay." As he said, Junior brother Ba took out a photo. There was no doubt that it was Xiaochen. Xiaochen's face turned black. He appeared with Xiaochen's original appearance. It was exactly the same as in the photo. This photo was also taken in Songning City. "How about it? What else do you want to say?" The tall disciple looked at Xiaochen mockingly and mocked. At this moment, Xiaochen immediately pretended to be surprised and opened his mouth wide. This. The reason why he pretended to be weak was that in Xiaochen's opinion, these few people did not send a message to the sect for such a long time, nor did they force him to make a move. Instead, they were talking nonsense with him. Xiaochen felt that there was something wrong with them and they should be plotting something. The tall disciple did not talk nonsense anymore. He snorted and said with an unfriendly expression, Kid, I might as well tell you the truth. We are disciples of the Joyful Clan. If we hand you over to Master Uncle's smiling face, you will definitely die. Ah. Xiaoqun pretended to be shocked and said in shock, then, how can we not hand me over to Master Uncle's smiling face? Show me the way. I don't want to die. I didn't mean to offend Master Uncle's smiling face. Ah. This is a little difficult. The tall disciple pretended to be troubled and thought for a moment before saying, actually, it's not that there is no way. I heard that you have a Dharma treasure? How about this, you give me your Dharma treasure. If there is really no good treasure in this thing, we will let you go. By then we will hand over the good treasure. If Master Uncle's smiling face is happy, he might not pursue this matter anymore. I don't have any good treasure. Although Xiaoqun said so, he was sneering in his heart. So they were coveting his flying sword. These three disciples obviously did not know what his treasure was. Smiling Maitreya probably did not tell them either. They must have guessed it themselves, and this excuse was just to take Xiaoqun's treasure for themselves. As for handing it over, it was just a nice way of saying it. Don't King reject our kindness. The tall disciple's face darkened and said to junior brother Ba beside him, since he is not cooperating, we don't have to be good people. Junior brother Ba, call for help. Yes. Junior brother Ba took out the communication device and was ready to release it. Wait. Xiaoqun looked afraid on the surface, but in his heart, he was thinking about whether to kill all three of them. What? You think of a treasure? The tall disciple pinched his chin and looked greedy. Yes, I do have a Dharma treasure in my hand, but it is something I rely on to escape. I was able to escape from the smiling Maitreya because of this treasure. Xiaoqun said sincerely, if I give this thing to you and you don't keep your word and don't let me go, then I will lose my last reliance. I won't be able to escape then. What is it? When the tall disciple heard this, the greed on his face became even stronger. If it could escape from the hands of Master Uncle's smiling face, it was obviously not an ordinary Dharma treasure, but a real treasure. Senior brother, do you think the thing in this kid's hand is a flying Dharma treasure? Junior brother Ba suddenly said, look at his weak appearance, it must be a flying Dharma treasure that is known as an escaped Dharma treasure. The tall disciple nodded and said, kid, you don't have to worry about this and that. Take out the treasure, otherwise we will directly rob it. If you give it to us now, we will let you live, but if you let us take action, then there is no weight to it. If we kill you, it is your bad luck. I will only give you 5 minutes to think about it. Well, if that is the case, then I can only respectfully obey. Xiaoqun sighed and patted his waist. The flying sword was unsheathed and Xiaoqun held it in his hand. What are you doing? The tall disciple was shocked and pointed at Xiaoqun. Do you want to struggle to the death with us? Chapter 770. The three young heroes misunderstood. This is my magic weapon. It is called Flying Star Sword. Xiaoqun said. Flying Star Sword? Really? Kid, are you lying to me? The tall disciple looked at Xiaoqun suspiciously. Throw it over and let us see. Okay. Xiaoqun threw the flying sword over, but he did not plot against the three of them. After all, the three of them were obviously very vigilant against him. Especially after taking out the sword, the three of them were even more suspicious. It was not a good time to make a move at this time. It was very unwise. But the tall disciple caught the flying sword that Xiaoqun threw. Seeing that Xiaoqun did not play any tricks, he was relieved and said, kid, you are not lying to us? This thing is a magic weapon? Holding it in his hand, the tall disciple felt that it was just an ordinary sword. There was nothing special about it. How could it be a magic weapon? I don't have anything. Look at what else I have on me. As Xiaoqun spoke, he even opened his arms and shook them twice on the spot. Senior brother, this seems to be a handicraft sword. Junior brother Ba said. Yes. The other black-faced junior brother who had not spoken before also nodded and said, this looks like a broken sword that old men and old women used to practice in the park. Damn kid, you dare to play with us? The tall disciple was more and more convinced by their words, especially when he saw a line of small words on the hilt that read, made by the Winter Seal Arts and Crafts Factory. He immediately flew into a rage out of embarrassment. Do you want to die? No, why would I dare to lie to you? Xiaoqun trembled and couldn't help but take 2 steps back. You think that's a trap? This is a handicraft. Do you think I don't know? The tall disciple said and raised his hand. A demonic aura emerged in his hand and he was about to beat up Xiaoqun. Junior brother Ba and the other black-faced junior brother were also very cooperative. Their figures flashed and they had already locked onto Xiao Chen from both sides. As long as the tall disciple gave the order, they would attack Xiao Chen. Young heroes, don't be nervous. How could I dare to deceive you in such a state? Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. This is really my treasure. Really? Alright, since that's the case, why don't you give it a try and see how to use it? The tall disciple looked at Xiao Chen's cowardly look and hesitated. He thought for a moment and said, "Don't try to fish in troubled waters. Show me now." Yes. Xiao Chen caught the flying sword thrown by the tall disciple, then threw it on the ground and stepped on it. The tall disciple sneered. In his opinion, Xiao Chen was talking nonsense. It was impossible for him to fly. However, what surprised the three of them was that Xiao Chen was standing on the handmade flying sword and slowly rising into the air. The tall disciple was stunned and immediately shouted, "Kid, hurry up and come down. Don't even think about taking the opportunity to escape. Believe it or not, if you dare to fly away, I will send out a signal." I don't want to run. I know it's not easy to run. Xiao Chen quickly came down. Is this really a treasure? The tall disciple looked at the flying star sword under Xiao Chen's feet in confusion. That's right. As you all know, my strength is not that high. If I were to bring out a magic treasure that is too eye-catching, I would be targeted before I could even take it out. And now I have disguised this magic treasure as a work of art. Even if others were to see it, they would not be interested, Xiao Chen quickly explained. Damn, so it was you who disguised it. Why didn't you say so earlier? The tall disciple suddenly understood. He grabbed the flying sword under Xiao Chen's feet and then the three of them gathered together to study it. Senior brother, how do I use this thing? Junior brother Ba curiously looked at the flying sword in his hand. It did not look like a good treasure. Hey kid, how do you use it? The tall disciple asked. Don't you know? I use my mind to activate it. This thing can only be understood and not explained. I can't explain it clearly, Xiao Chen said. Oh. The tall disciple nodded his head repeatedly. Naturally, he had heard of how cultivators used magic treasures. After hearing this, the three of them no longer cared about Xiao Chen. The tall disciple waved his hand impatiently and said, "Hurry up and leave, but remember, don't tell anyone about this. Of course, even if you tell us, we won't admit it." Yes. Thank you three. Xiao Chen turned around and was ready to leave. It was not that the three of them did not want to capture Xiao Chen and hand him over. However, if they captured him and Martial Uncle's smiling face did not find the flying star sword, he would definitely suspect them. It was better to let him go and let others catch him. When that time came, the person who caught Xiao Chen would not be able to explain himself. Even if Xiao Chen were to turn the tables and falsely accuse the three of them, the sect's elders would think that the person who captured Xiao Chen wanted to take the flying sword for himself and then frame his fellow sect members. Let's use our minds to activate the flying star sword. Let's see who can activate it first. The tall disciple thought for a moment and said, for the sake of fairness, although he was the senior, everyone was of the same generation. Moreover, they had discovered Xiao Chen together. It was not good for him to take it for himself. Whoever can activate it first will keep it. Of course, the three of us can share it. Senior brother is wise. Junior brother Ba and junior brother Blackface nodded in agreement. As they spoke, they surrounded the flying star sword in the middle. Then they sat cross-legged and began to use their minds to activate the flying star sword. After Xiao Chen walked far away, he saw that the three of them were not paying attention to him. So, he hid behind a big tree and waited for an opportunity to make his move. After waiting for a while, Xiao Chen saw that the three of them were concentrating. He immediately realized that his opportunity had come. Without hesitation, he directly activated the flying sword. The tip of the flying sword was pointed right at junior brother Blackface. Shwa! Junior brother Blackface didn't even have time to make a sound before his heart was pierced. What's going on? The tall disciple and junior brother Ba were shocked. The two of them instantly opened their eyes and quickly retreated, giving way to junior brother Blackface's corpse. Senior brother, what's going on? Junior brother Ba looked nervous. The tall disciple's face was solemn. He frowned and looked at junior brother Ba. He said with some vigilance, "Little Ba, tell me the truth. Did you kill junior brother Blackface? You can already use your mind to activate the flying star sword, right? Do you want to take it for yourself?" Junior brother Ba was stunned. Then his heart trembled. He knew very well that he didn't activate the flying star sword to kill. It was impossible. And senior brother said so. Could it be that senior brother was a thief crying thief? Thinking of this, junior brother Ba was very afraid. He knelt on the ground and shouted, "Senior brother, don't you know who I am? I didn't do it." "If it wasn't you, then who?" The tall disciple looked around. Xiaochen was long gone. "It really wasn't me." Could it be that junior brother Blackface didn't control it well and accidentally did it himself? Junior brother Ba said. "How is that possible?" The tall disciple frowned. Suddenly he thought of something. He picked up the biological detector in his hand and began to scan the surroundings. However, Xiaochen was now very far away. He was already out of the biological detector's range, so the detector didn't respond. The tall disciple was puzzled. The flying sword that pierced through junior brother Blackface's body. The tall disciple was caught off guard. Shwa. The tall disciple suddenly stabbed into the tall disciple's body. "It really is you." The tall disciple pointed at junior brother Ba, who was kneeling on the ground. His face was full of resentment and unwillingness. He slowly fell down. It's not me." Junior brother Ba was a little stunned. However, the next moment, the flying sword that pierced through the tall disciple didn't stop. It directly flew out and pierced through junior brother Ba's body. Junior brother Ba died with a grievance. He even took the blame for his death. He also didn't understand how the flying sword could fly by itself. Xiaochen walked over from a distance. He quickly put away the flying sword. Then he pulled out 2 sets of clothes from the 2 of them. He threw 2 fireballs to directly burn the 3 of them to ashes. Then he called out to Yi Xiaoya, "Come down. It's all right." Yi Xiaoya had already woken up. She watched from above as Xiaochen deceived the 3 of them. She couldn't help but find it a little funny. These 3 people are really stupid. You can't say that they are stupid. They're just greedy. We can't stay here anymore. Quickly put on clothes and find a place to hide. Xiaochen said. Yi Xiaoya also made a prompt decision. She put on the clothes of the black-faced disciple. Although there were some bloodstains and holes, it couldn't be seen if one didn't look carefully. Xiaochen was tall, so he put on the clothes of the tall disciple. The 2 of them quickly moved toward the depths of the mountain range. However, Smiling Methreya and the others were patrolling on the shuttle. If they were not careful, they would be discovered. It was not realistic to go down the mountain. The foot of the mountain was full of Joyous Clan's middle-level disciples who were responsible for commanding. Therefore, the 2 of them could only move toward the depths of the mountain range. "Someone is coming. Calm down for a while," Xiaochen said, and transformed himself into the appearance of the tall disciple. However, he was helpless against Yi Xiaoya. He could only make her lower her head as much as possible. Sure enough, not long after, 2 people came over. However, the strength of the 2 people made Xiaochen a little worried. One was a level 3 Devil General and the other was a Devil Master Perfection stage. With this kind of strength, it was very difficult for Xiaochen to kill them. If they fought and caused a commotion, it would be very troublesome. Moreover, it seemed that the 2 of them were very smart. They shouldn't be greedy for his treasures. They were different from the previous 3. Did the 2 senior brothers discover anything? Xiaochen thought about it. It was better to take the initiative to greet them. Otherwise, if they passed by without saying a word, it would be too strange. Moreover, the strength of these 2 people was much higher than the tall disciple. He was afraid that they were senior brothers. "What's your name? Calling me senior brother?" The level 3 martial general was stunned. Immediately, a pair of sharp eyes swept toward Xiaochen. Martial uncle." Xiaochen was shocked. He hurriedly said with embarrassment, "The distance just now was too far. I didn't see clearly. Martial uncle, do you have any clues?" Chapter 771. "No, you are Xiao Gaozi, right?" The level 3 general looked at Xiaochen and nodded. "Yes, Uncle Master, we will go and look for him too," Xiaochen replied. "And?" The level 3 general looked at Xiaochen and suddenly shouted, "Wait! Uncle Master, do you have any other instructions?" Xiaochen's heart skipped a beat, but he pretended to be calm and asked, "You called me Uncle Master?" The level 3 general asked. Xiaochen was a little confused. Was Uncle Master wrong too? "Aren't you Coiled Silk Monk's in-name disciple? Shouldn't you call me Uncle Master?" The level 3 general said. Because I'm not familiar with the ranks of Uncle Masters, so..." Xiaochen was shocked and quickly explained. "Oh, Heaven Rumbling Joyous Clan." The level 3 general nodded. "Oh, Heaven Rumbling Joyous Clan." Although Xiaochen didn't know what was going on, he repeated it anyway. "Kid, you are courting death. Who are you? Are you Xiaochen?" The level 3 general was enraged and slapped Xiao Chen. F***ck. Xiao Chen couldn't be bothered anymore. He pulled Yi Xiaoya and started running. Now he understood that the baffling heaven-rumbling joyous clan must be a secret code. He didn't match it, so the level 3 general became suspicious. What a scam. If he had known, he would have spared one and asked about the situation. It seemed like he had done all that for nothing. However, Xiaoqin didn't know that the joyous clan was so cautious and even came up with a secret code. At that time he thought that with so many joyous clan disciples, the elders probably didn't know what they looked like. He didn't expect to be recognized. Chase. The level 3 general shouted and said to the disciple beside him, "Release the signal flare and get everyone to come over." Yes. The disciple nodded and took out the signal flare, ignited it and released it. Level 3 martial generals chased after them relentlessly. Xiaoqin had a headache. He definitely wouldn't be able to outrun this martial general level 3. However, he didn't dare to step on his flying sword and fly. This was because the smiling Mithraea was still on the flying shuttle. If he lured him over, he might really be caught. He was really afraid of wolves in front and tigers behind. Gritting his teeth, Xiaoqin saw that the disciple had already released the signal flare, thinking that the smiling Mithraea would be attracted. He could only carry Yi Xiaoya, took out the flying sword, stepped on it and flew forward quickly. He really does have a magic treasure. The level 3 general was shocked to see Xiaoqin escape. However, given his speed he would not be able to catch up. As expected, the signal flare attracted the attention of the old Taoist Yanlong, the smiling Mithraea and the eldest brother. "There's movement over there." Smiling Mithraea pointed in the direction of Xiaoqin and shouted, "If he can't escape." The eldest senior brother quickly urged the flying shuttle to fly in the direction of the signal flare. After flying for a while, the smiling Mithraea shouted, "Look, they are over there. This flying magic treasure is very rare. It seems to be very small." The eldest senior brother looked at Xiaoqin, who was not far away, and was somewhat shocked. However, there was still some distance between them. For the time being he couldn't see clearly what it was. "Congratulations, smiling junior brother, you got such a high-level magic treasure," the old Taoist Yanlong said with envy. Although he already knew that it was a flying magic treasure, seeing such a small appearance was still very envious. However, with their seniority, it was impossible for them to do such a thing. They could only think about it. "Haha, in the future, eldest senior brother and senior brother Yanlong can borrow it from me. We can all use it together." The smiling Mithraea smiled proudly as if the flying sword was already his. "That's not necessary. I already have a flying shuttle. However, smiling face, it's good that you can lend it to the sect's senior and junior brothers. I didn't come all the way to help you in vain." The eldest senior brother nodded. "Thank you, eldest senior brother." The smiling Mithraea was really grateful for the selfless spirit of the eldest senior brother. But it's a bit difficult to catch up with the other party." The eldest senior brother's face was very cold. The speed of Xiaoqian's flying magic treasure was not inferior to his flying shuttle. Thinking of this, he had to concentrate and control it with all his strength. So he said, "Don't talk to me. I want to focus on the pursuit." "Yes." The smiling Mithraea and the old Taoist Yanlong hurriedly said yes. Originally, Xiaoqin saw that the speed of the flying shuttle behind him was basically the same as his. In other words, it wouldn't be able to catch up with him for a while. But just as he was relieved, he saw the flying shuttle accelerate. Xiaoqin was shocked. This thing could also accelerate? However, the flying shuttle could accelerate, but Xiaoqin couldn't. The material of this flying sword was too garbage. The current speed was already the limit. Xiaoqin, they're catching up. What should we do? Yi Xiaoya was somewhat worried. "Damn, why am I so unlucky recently?" Xiaoqin cursed. He kept looking left and right, looking for a chance to escape. According to this method of pursuit, unless Xiaoqin flew deep into the mountains, but after crossing the mountains was the sea. Continuing to fly into the sea was tantamount to courting death. Xiaoqin's elemental qi would be exhausted and he would fall. At that time he and Yi Xiaoya would die. But Xiaoqin didn't dare to change direction and fly in the direction of the city. Now it was broad daylight. If he was seen by a lot of people, they would call the police and call for bombers and fighter jets to be shot down as unidentified flying objects. That would be the end of him. "Boy, you can't fly faster than us. If you know what's good for you, quickly stop." The smiling Mithraea saw that the eldest senior brother's forehead was densely covered with sweat in order to help him catch up with Xiaoqin. He was somewhat worried. So he couldn't help but shout, "If you stop now and hand over the magic treasure, I won't kill you." When he said not to kill, he just wanted to keep Xiaoqin alive. However, he must cripple Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin wouldn't believe him. He continued to fly forward desperately, but after flying for less than a minute, Xiaoqin couldn't hold it anymore. The speed of the pursuers was too fast. Xiaoqin had no choice but to take the risk and fly to the sea. He now hoped that there would be a foothold like an island in the sea, although this hope was somewhat slim. "Ya, why are you flying to the sea?" Yi Xiaoya was suddenly shocked. "If he dares to chase, then come." "I don't believe that he dares to waste time with me." Xiaoqin was also desperate. He didn't believe that the flying shuttle of the smiling Mithriya could fly continuously. If it couldn't, then when they saw Xiaoqin flying to the sea, they would certainly not dare to chase. However, what made Xiaoqin regretful was that he flew to the sea, but the flying shuttle was still chasing him. Little did he know that the eldest senior brother was now in a frenzy. In his eyes there was only Xiaoqin. The scenery around him was all floating clouds. He didn't notice that below him was already a vast sea. The smiling Mithriya and the old Taoist Yanlong were surprised. They wanted to ask the eldest senior brother, but they were afraid to disturb him. There was no way, they could only worry. Because of the eldest senior brother's full concentration, the distance between the two was getting closer and closer. In fact, Xiaoqin's current distance was already within the attack range of the smiling Mithriya and the old Taoist Yanlong. As long as the two of them used their full strength, they could beat Xiaoqin down. However, they didn't dare. After all, below them was the sea. If they beat Xiaoqin down, it didn't matter if Xiaoqin died, but the flying magic weapon would also sink into the sea. Although they were all top-notch Devil General expert cultivators, in front of the vast ocean, they were also powerless. It was said that in ancient times, only the masters of the sea-splitting stage could open a gap in the sea. However, this level no longer existed now. That was the strength of the legendary characters with great magical power. "Smiling junior brother, even if we catch up here, it's not easy to make a move. If we try to snatch it, then when Xiaoqin falls into the sea, the magic weapon will also fall down. How can we salvage it?" The old Taoist Yanlong looked at the smiling Mithriya with some difficulty. The smiling Mithriya was shocked. Yes, previously they only thought that they couldn't easily attack within the attack range. But even if they really caught up, they couldn't attack. If they really fell into the sea, let alone a person and a small flying magic weapon, even a big ship would be difficult to determine the direction and salvage it. "Motherf **, this kid is really cunning." The smiling Mithriya scolded. "What should we do now? He must have done it on purpose." "There's no need to think about it, it must be," the old Taoist Yanlong said angrily. "We have to think of a way." "Huh. There seems to be an island in front." The smiling Mithriya was also very worried. Suddenly his eyes lit up. He pointed to a black spot not far away and said, "That is a small island. Let's wait for Xiaoqin to arrive at the island. We will calculate the time and attack him together. Then we will hit him on the island. Even if we can't accurately land on the island, it must be nearby. It shouldn't be difficult to find him." "That's right." The old Taoist Yanlong nodded. The two of them confirmed the plan and began to calculate the distance between Xiaoqin and the island. Finally, when they saw that it was about time, the two of them suddenly attacked Xiaoqin. Big Palm of Joy. Dragon Yang Wave. The two's moves were very strange. The smiling Mithriya's hand suddenly stretched out. A shadow of a hand enlarged in the air. Then, it shrouded the top of Xiaoqin's head and slapped down. The old Taoist Yanlong's Dragon Yang Wave was a tornado-like shockwave that spun towards Xiaoqin. One slapped down and the other disturbed Xiaoqin's advance. He was caught in the middle of the shockwave. Just like a tornado, he would be able to smash Xiaoqin to the island below. Xiaoqin didn't think that the two of them would really dare to make a move. He was shocked. He quickly used his Yuan Qi to protect himself and Yi Xiaoya. But the other party was too strong. He didn't have time to make other countermeasures. He was slapped down and fell rapidly. "Bah!" Yi Xiaoya screamed. Fortunately, the goal of the two of them was to slap Xiaoqin down and not to kill him. Their moves were calculated. It also seriously affected the power of their attacks. Therefore, the two of them were only slightly injured. It was not fatal. All of this happened too fast. Before Xiaoqin could regain control of the flying sword, he felt a burning hot airflow coming straight up from below. Chapter 772. Xiaoqin looked down instinctively and nearly went crazy from fright. "It's King Island down there. Of course, it would be fine if it was just a small island." This was a small island formed by the eruption of an undersea volcano. He and Yi Xiaoya fell right into the volcano cave in the middle of the crater. Xiaoqin could even see the rolling magma below. Xiaoqin noticed that something was wrong. Yi Xiaoya naturally noticed it too. She couldn't help but exclaim, "Xiaoqin, are we going to jump into the volcano and kill ourselves?" Gosh. Xiaoqin was a little speechless. At this time Yi Xiaoya was still in the mood to joke. Taking a deep breath, Xiaoqin hurriedly wanted to control the flying sword. However, he was shocked to find that the flying sword was no longer under his feet. After being hit just now, he had converted the primordial chi that controlled the flying sword to protect his body. He didn't know where the flying sword went. It was too late to find it. Without a choice, Xiaoqin could only continue to use primordial chi to protect his body. "Master, let me out." Just as Xiaoqin closed his eyes and was about to use primordial chi to protect him and Yi Xiaoya, the voice of the flame of the underworld came from his mind. "Oh." Xiaoqin was stunned. He didn't have time to think about it and released the flame of the underworld. After Nethery came out, it began to spread around Xiaoqin and Yi Xiaoya. In an instant, it formed a spherical shroud that surrounded the two of them. "This is..." Yi Xiaoya was shocked. Although the two of them were surrounded by flames, they didn't feel the heat. "It's okay. We're on the same side." Xiaoqin comforted her. Then he was also happy. If Yi Xiaoya was watching from the outside, she would be even more surprised. Around the fire of the underworld, the originally hot flames automatically moved to the side, as if they had a mind of their own and did not dare to approach, as if they were afraid of being devoured by the fire of the underworld. Surrounded by the flames of the underworld, Xiaoqin and Yi Xiaoya continued to descend. They didn't know how deep the volcano was, but for the time being they weren't in any danger. Thinking about it, Xiaoqin also understood. The flame of the underworld was a heavenly flame. Although the magma produced by the volcano was hot, it could not be compared to the heavenly flame. Therefore Xiaoqin and Yi Xiaoya did not feel any discomfort. "One of us?" Yi Xiaoya was a little surprised. "You mean the fire around you?" "Yeah, his name is Nethery. He's my subordinate," Xiaoqin said. "It's a heaven and earth unusual flame. Have you heard of it?" "What? You actually subdued a heavenly flame and made it your subordinate? Is that true?" Yi Xiaoya's eyes widened. She looked at the blue flames around her in disbelief. Isn't the heavenly flame an existence that cannot be subdued? How many demonic cultivators want to refine the heavenly flame, but they have not succeeded? How did you do it? I already said that I am not a demonic cultivator. Xiaoqin smiled bitterly. That's right. Yi Xiaoya suddenly realized. You are a superpower user. It seems that you are quite powerful. As the two were talking, they suddenly felt their bodies stop. They stepped on something. They should have reached the bottom. "Master, it's okay." Just as Xiaoqin was puzzled, the voice of the flame of the underworld sounded. With this voice, Nethery, who was wrapped around Xiaoqin, also dissipated and turned into a blue flame. "Hey, where is this?" Yi Xiaoya was very shocked as she looked around the environment. She and Xiaoqin were currently standing on top of a hard rock. This was a very spacious place, and this was not the most magical thing. The most magical thing was that not far above their heads, there was actually a layer of transparent partition. It was unknown whether it was water or some other special substance, and above the transparent layer was the surging magma. Although they were separated by only a few dozen meters, they did not feel the heat of the magma at all. Instead, it felt refreshing and pleasant here. This should be under the volcano. Xiaoqin was also very vigilant to look around. After discovering that there was no danger, he was slightly relieved. However, in this case, it should be impossible for him to go up from here. He did not know where the flying sword went. It probably fell into the sea instead of the magma. Otherwise, he could use the flying sword to let Nethery wrap him in Yi Xiaoya and fly up. Thinking that the smiling Mithriya and the others must still be waiting outside, so Xiaoqin was not in a hurry to go up. With the mentality of taking things as they came, he looked around. At this time, on the volcano, the big senior brother had already woken up from the chase. Because Xiaoqin had been beaten down, he also had no target. "Why did you hit him?" The big senior brother's tone was very strict. I think there is a small island below. Let's beat him to the island so that we can take away his flying divine tool." The smiling Mithriya said. "But is that a small island?" Xiaoqin fell into the crater of the volcano. The big senior brother said angrily. That is the crater of the volcano?" The smiling Mithriya and the old Taoist Yanlong were dumbfounded. "Nonsense, if you don't believe it, go and see for yourself." After saying that, the big senior brother urged the flying shuttle to gradually stop above the small island. Suddenly the hot magma made the three of them began to sweat. The big senior brother's strength was superior to the two of them, so he was one step ahead of them to feel that it was a crater. What should we do? The smiling Mithraea looked at the crater that was still emitting a red light, and was a little at a loss. If Xiaoqin fell in, can he still survive? What do you think? The big senior brother glared at him. Then isn't the flying magic treasure? The old Taoist Yan Long looked at the empty crater around and said weakly. He also fell in. The big senior brother snorted coldly. You two really can't do anything right but only spoil things. After chasing for so long in vain, in the end, it was all for naught. Then what should we do now? The smiling Mithraea asked with some regret. What else can we do? Go back. Otherwise, do you still want to jump down to find him? The big senior brother said angrily. Of course not. The smiling Mithraea shivered. This was surging magma. Not to mention a demon general like him, even a cultivator of a higher level would be burnt to ashes if he fell into it. The big senior brother shook his head and urged the flying shuttle to turn back. Under the volcano, Xiaoqin and Yi Xiaoya looked around randomly. This seemed to be some kind of ruins. On the stone wall, there were some incomprehensible symbols and words. There won't be any treasure here, right? Yi Xiaoya asked. It's hard to say. Xiaoqin frowned. If this was a ruin, then there might really be something good inside. Let's look for it. I love exploring. Yi Xiaoya was not nervous at all. She didn't think as much as Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin also agreed. Since they were here and couldn't go up for the time being, it was better to look here. Maybe there was a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. There seems to be a door here. Yi Xiaoya suddenly pointed to the stone wall not far away and said. Xiaoqin looked in the direction she pointed and saw a vague door. It seemed to be painted on the stone wall. If he didn't look carefully, he wouldn't notice it. He walked over and pushed it but found that it didn't move. There should be a mechanism. As Xiaoqin spoke, he started searching the surroundings. Looking around, he saw a slightly sunken square groove. Xiaoqin touched it gently and was basically certain that it was a mechanism. That's right. Xiaoqin pressed it hard, but there was no reaction. Just when Xiaoqin was puzzled, suddenly there was a rumbling sound on the stone wall. Suddenly, the stone door opened slowly, revealing a new room. Then, a rich heaven and earth spiritual chi rushed out. If he didn't guess wrong, this should be some cave ruins. Such a rich spiritual chi. Although spiritual chi didn't have much effect on ordinary cultivators, Yi Xiaoya as a fire devil cultivator could still feel it. Yes, let's go in and have a look. Xiaoqin said and took the lead to enter the cave. After entering, he was a little shocked. He saw that on the wall of the room, there were countless fiery red crystals inlaid. They looked similar to spiritual jade, and the aura they exuded was very similar to that of spiritual jade. However, the difference was that they exuded a hot aura. Elder Heaven Ancestor, this is? Xiaoqin couldn't help but ask. This is called fire crystal, commonly known as fire spiritual jade. It has a magical effect for cultivators with fire spiritual root. But for you, it is almost the same as ordinary spiritual jade. If you use it too much, you may even be poisoned by fire. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Oh, cultivators are also divided into attributes? What attribute do I have? Xiaoqin hurriedly asked after listening. You and I are both cultivators without attributes. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. What? 5 attributes? That's awesome. Xiaoqin was surprised. Is it metal, wood, water, fire, and earth attributes? It's no attribute, not 5 attributes. Elder Heaven Ancestor didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It means no attribute. Pfft. Xiaoqin was stunned and then said gloomily, what does that mean? Is it very weak? Is it worse than any other attribute? Wrong, it should be stronger than any other attribute, but to say it is weak is also correct. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. What does that mean? Why is it contradictory? Xiaoqin was a little puzzled. Anyway, you can't meet other cultivators now, it's useless for you to study so much. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. This can't be explained in a short time. There are so many spiritual jades here, why don't you hurry up and cultivate? Why are you talking nonsense with me? Oh, I think that Li Xianer is a cultivator. Xiaoqin said. What is she cultivating? Her cultivation method will never catch up with you. Elder Heaven Ancestor said indifferently. Okay. Xiaoqin nodded and then said to Yi Xiaoya, Little Yi, we can't go out for the time being, but this place is full of fire spiritual chi, which is also very beneficial for your cultivation. Yes, then let's start dual cultivation. Yi Xiaoye nodded. Chapter 773. Dual cultivation is not possible for the time being. I have to practice by myself first. This is also good for me to improve my strength. Xiaoqin said. All right then. Yi Xiaoye had some hidden bitterness. Before starting his cultivation session, Xiaoqin carefully inspected the entire stone chamber. There was a stone table, a stone chair and a stone bed within the stone chamber. Judging by the state of the place, it was likely that a certain cultivator had once lived here. However, there were no magic weapons or books, which made Xiaoqin feel very regretful. He thought that he could pick up some things. However, it was impossible to say that someone had been here before. After all, the fire crystals inlaid on the wall were still there. If someone had been here, they would have taken them away and not left here. So thinking about it, it was estimated that the people here left on their own. The two of them prepared for a while, then they prepared to sit cross-legged and start practicing. To Xiaoqin's surprise, Yi Xiaoye quickly took off her clothes before practicing. She took off her clothes and sat cross-legged, trying to communicate with the fire spiritual energy. What are you doing? Why are you taking off your clothes while practicing? Xiaoqin was a little speechless. He looked up and down greedily, but because the light in the stone room was dim, it was completely relying on the light emitted by the fire crystals. Moreover, the angle where Yi Xiaoye sat, Xiaoqin couldn't see clearly at all. It was just that the more obscure it was, the more tempting it was. Xiaoqin took a deep breath and turned his head. The urgent matter was not to see Yi Xiaoye, but to seize the time to practice. Xiaoqin knew that the only thing that mattered was to improve his strength. The smiling Mithriya saw him fall into the volcano and left temporarily. When he found out that Xiaoqin was not dead, he would definitely continue to pursue. So if Xiaoqin had the strength, he didn't have to be afraid of him. I'm used to it, Yi Xiaoye said, and it's too hot here. I'm sweating all over with my clothes on. Xiaoqin nodded and said no more. He began to use the Stealing Heaven's Fortune battle art and began to crazily absorb the heaven and earth aura emitted by the fire crystal. It was too abundant. Xiaoqin sucked in a mouthful of spiritual qi. He was like a smoker who was addicted to smoking, sucking in mouthfuls of spiritual qi greedily. The spiritual energy that entered Xiaoqin's body was different from the spiritual energy from the spiritual jade. This spiritual energy was a little hot, but Xiaoqin could still endure it. Compared to the soothing impact of the spiritual energy on his meridians, that little bit of heat was negligible. After the spiritual energy circulated through his body, it gathered in his dantian and was absorbed by Xiaoqin. Time flew by. Cultivation had no sense of time. However, to Xiaoqin's surprise, although the fire-type spiritual energy here was scorching hot, it seemed to be endless. Xiaoqin didn't need to cherish it at all. Instead, he madly absorbed it. This was the first time he was able to absorb the heaven and earth aura so refreshingly since he started cultivating. At this moment, he really wanted to thank the smiling Mithriya. If he hadn't been beaten down, he wouldn't have found such a good place. Yi Xiaoye also seemed to be very satisfied. The speed of cultivation here was much faster than the outside world. The only thing that made her a little unhappy was that she couldn't dual cultivate with Xiaoqin. If she could dual cultivate with him, the speed would be more than twice as fast as it was now. The peak of the third level of Foundation Establishment Realm, the fourth level of Foundation Establishment Realm, the peak of the fourth level of Foundation Establishment Realm. Xiaoqin's strength soared all the way. He didn't know how much time had passed. It might have been a week or it might have been a month. There was no night or day here. Xiaoqin's mobile phone had already run out of battery, so he couldn't judge the time. Phew. Xiaoqin opened his eyes and glanced at Yi Xiaoye, who was concentrating on cultivating beside him. His heart couldn't help but burn with an evil fire. He had an impulse to execute her on the spot. It must be because it was too hot. Xiaoqin took a deep breath and moved his head to the other side with difficulty. His gaze stopped on the stone bed. At this moment, Xiaoqin's strength was already at the peak of the fifth level of Foundation Establishment Realm. He didn't know why, but he suddenly wanted to stop. He also had an impulse to go to the stone bed and investigate. He didn't know where this idea came from. In any case, if he didn't take action, he definitely wouldn't be able to concentrate on cultivating. After hesitating for a moment, Xiaoqin got up and walked to the edge of the stone bed. He studied it carefully. The stone bed was bare and there was nothing special about it. Moreover, the surrounding heaven and earth aura was the same as anywhere else. There was nothing special about it. Why did he have to study this bed? Xiaoqin couldn't figure it out. He looked at the bed and wanted to turn around to cultivate, but he just couldn't calm his heart down. He forced himself to go back to his original position and meditate. He closed his eyes and circulated the mantra, but he still couldn't absorb the heaven and earth aura freely like before. It was as if he was tired of this matter and had to study the stone bed. Without a choice, Xiaoqin stood up again. He walked to the front of the stone bed and carefully examined it. This time Xiaoqin found something different. At the edge of the stone bed, there seemed to be a small gap. Although it was very shallow, if one looked carefully they could still see it. Xiaoqin reached out to touch the gap. He used a little force but he didn't find anything. It shouldn't have been opened by brute force. This gap didn't have anything to borrow force from. It wasn't very realistic to use his hands to forcefully open it. Unless Xiaoqin smashed the stone bed, but that wouldn't be in line with his original intention. In his opinion, there should be some kind of mechanism nearby. Thinking of this, Xiaoqin looked around. Sure enough, at the foot of the bed, Xiaoqin saw a small groove. It was the same as the door outside. The mechanism here wasn't very difficult to find. It didn't seem to be deliberately making things difficult for people. Xiaoqin pressed the groove. After a while there was a clicking sound. A layer of stone slabs on the stone bed slowly rose. Originally, Yi Xiaoye was focused on her cultivation. Even if Xiaoqin walked back and forth a few times, it didn't affect her. After all, Xiaoqin's movements were very light. But now the sound of the stone bed woke her up. She looked strangely at the slowly rising stone slabs. Just as she was about to ask what Xiaoqin was doing, the next moment, Yi Xiaoye saw a red mist rushing towards Xiaoqin. It directly entered Xiaoqin's head. This sudden change gave her a shock. She looked at Xiaoqin in panic and said, "Xiaoqin, what's wrong? What are you doing?" Xiaoqin also screamed. He also saw a red mist rushing towards him after the stone bed opened. However, he didn't have time to dodge and the mist invaded his body. He only felt that his mind was burning and in an instant, it went blank. "Wow, I've finally been reborn. Kid, thank you for providing me with a body. I'll help you take care of your woman." Gah. The voice was originally very proud but it suddenly stopped. It was replaced by another voice. "This disciple really worries me. Sai, luckily I have some ability. Otherwise, this silly boy would have been possessed by someone else." Chapter 774. What happened to me just now? That was Xiaoqin's original voice. "Idiot, you were possessed." Elder Heaven Ancestor said angrily, "Are you stupid? Tell me, are you stupid or not? Why did you open the coffin for no reason? Do you have nothing better to do?" "That's a coffin?" Xiaoqin was startled. "Nonsense, don't you see that there are still bones in there?" Elder Heaven Ancestor said angrily, "If I hadn't been vigilant, that bastard would have succeeded, and I would have to fight with him for the rest of my life." Xiaoqin looked under the stone bed and sure enough, there was a pile of scattered human bones. It was weathered and he couldn't tell its age. However, there was a small rectangular box next to the bones. He didn't know what it was but it looked like a treasure. Xiaoqin was overjoyed. It seemed that he didn't open the coffin for nothing. He was about to pick it up, but then he remembered what happened just now and he didn't dare to act rashly. "Xiaoqin, what happened to you just now? Why did you imitate several people's voices?" Yi Xiaoye asked in confusion. "Oh, it's nothing." Xiaoqin shook his head and was about to ask Elder Heaven Ancestor if he could move the box under the stone bed, when he suddenly felt something like a flame exploding in his body. "Ah!" Xiaoqin let out a blood-curdling scream. He felt as if all the meridians in his body were about to boil in an instant. That ball of flame started to circulate around his body. "Ah!" Xiaoqin screamed again and again. The clothes on his body were vaporized and not even ashes were left. His entire body had turned into a scarlet-red color. It was very frightening. Xiaoqin's eyes were red and he was running in the stone room. At this moment, his mind was not clear, and he didn't even know what he was doing. "Hey kid, don't be impulsive, don't run around." Elder Heaven Ancestor's anxious voice sounded in Xiaoqin's mind, but Xiaoqin turned a deaf ear. It wasn't that he didn't want to listen but he couldn't hear it anymore. He had become unconscious. Elder Heaven Ancestor didn't have a choice. If this continued, Xiaoqin would die. He could only grit his teeth and decide to possess Xiaoqin again. However, to his disappointment, he had just possessed Xiaoqin's body once, and he had even helped Xiaoqin destroy the soul that came out of nowhere. Now, he no longer had the physical strength and vitality to complete a second possession. "Xiaoqin, what are you doing?" Yi Xiaoye saw Xiaoqin walking around in the stone room in pain. She was shocked and didn't know what to do. But seeing Xiao Chen in pain, Yi Xiaoye hesitated for a moment, and couldn't help but chase after Xiao Chen and hug him. "Xiao Chen, wake up, what's wrong with you?" Although Xiao Chen's body was frighteningly hot, Yi Xiaoye was a fire-type devil cultivator. This degree of heat, especially through Xiao Chen, was not enough to do anything to her. He felt like he was being hugged by a soft body, and the heat in his body seemed to be transmitted to her. Xiao Chen felt a burst of comfort and subconsciously hugged Yi Xiaoye. "Ah!" Yi Xiaoye let out a moan, and her whole body was pushed to the ground by Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's actions at the moment were completely meaningless. He felt that he was very hot, and what he had to do now seemed to be able to alleviate it. "You!" Yi Xiaoye screamed, and her whole body trembled in pain. Xiao Chen was completely unconscious at the moment, so he didn't know what gentleness and tenderness were. Yi Xiaoye was a little upset. Why did my first time happen in this situation? She had fantasized many times before. Although she knew that the person she was going to dedicate herself to was Xiao Chen, she didn't expect it to be like this. What she imagined was that after the dual cultivation was over, they would be lying on the same bed, and then they would be aroused, and then, however, Yi Xiaoye didn't regret it. As long as it could alleviate Xiao Chen's pain, it didn't matter if she felt a little uncomfortable. Moreover, it wasn't really very uncomfortable. Gradually Yi Xiaoye closed her eyes and began to enjoy it. This was because she found that this seemed to be able to improve her cultivation more than dual cultivation. Feeling a steady flow of fiery demonic energy into her body, Yi Xiaoye quickly circulated her energy to resolve it. What happened next seemed to be no different from dual cultivation. It was still the mutual circulation of vitality, and it was twice the result with half the effort. Yi Xiaoye even thought that if she knew it would be so fast, she would have seduced Xiao Chen earlier and let him push her. As time passed, Xiao Chen slowly became sober from a state of insanity. When he realized what he was doing, he was instantly dumbfounded. He did Yi Xiaoye just like that? He wasn't ready yet. Although he had gone through fire and water with Yi Xiaoye, Xiao Chen also knew that the two of them would develop into a relationship sooner or later. Otherwise they would be naked together every day. If he let Yi Xiaoye be with other men, Xiao Chen wouldn't be comfortable. But wasn't it a little too fast now? And it was even in this environment. But then he thought of something and felt something. Although it was unconscious before, the mantra had been circulating, including now. After the flame exploded in Xiao Chen's body, it turned into a mass of fiery vitality that surged throughout his body. He and Yi Xiaoye's dual cultivation led the hot part of the fiery vitality into Yi Xiaoye's body, turning it into energy for Yi Xiaoye to improve her strength. As for the original vitality, it was transformed and absorbed by Xiao Chen. He didn't know if it was because he had pushed down Yi Xiaoye, but Xiao Chen suddenly discovered that his strength had suddenly jumped from the peak of the 5th level of the Foundation Establishment stage to the peak of the 10th level of the Foundation Establishment stage. He was only one step away from the peak of the Foundation Establishment stage. Xiao Chen could be said to have stepped into the state of the half-step Golden Core stage. This kind of speed of leveling up suddenly scared Xiao Chen. He quickly asked the Elder Heaven Ancestor, "Elder Heaven Ancestor, am I taking the elevator to level up?" The person who wanted to take over your body, the previous owner of this stone room, was a cultivator with fire spiritual roots. He had set up a very advanced bewildering array in this room. Any fire cultivator who had reached the peak of the 5th level of the Foundation Establishment stage would unknowingly lose their minds and open the coffin on the stone bed, allowing him to take over their bodies. Elder Sky said. "But I'm not a cultivator without an attribute?" Xiao Chen was a little puzzled. A cultivator without an attribute is the best target for possession. He can create a constitution of any attribute. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. "It seems like I've become Tripitaka's flesh." Xiao Chen sighed. More or less. Before he passed away, he retained a portion of his strength and vitality, waiting for it to circulate in your body after he took over your body, completely refining your constitution into a fire attribute for his use. However, I interfered with it, causing his soul to scatter, but that strength and vitality remained in your body. Elder Heaven Ancestor explained, because you don't have his mantra, you can't refine the strength and vitality of the fire attribute. Fortunately, you brought a fire-type demonic cultivator as a friend. Then, the fire element in your fire attribute vitality was dissolved, and the vitality was absorbed by you. That's my teammate, okay? How did it become a friend in your mouth? Xiao Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Elder Heaven Ancestor, you really don't know how to respect your elders. Did I say something wrong? Then what are you doing? Elder Heaven Ancestor asked curiously. Forget it, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Xiao Qin directly ignored Elder Heaven Ancestor and continued to work with Yi Xiaoye to improve their strength. Yi Xiaoye suddenly screamed. I'm going to faint. Lil, Yi, the way you call me is really special. Why do you keep calling me? What are you screaming for? I leveled up. I've become a demonic cultivator, Xiao Qin, did you know that? Yi Xiaoye said in surprise. I'm about to become a demonic cultivator. What's so strange about that? Xiao Qin shrugged. Then hurry up and continue. Yi Xiaoye saw that Xiao Qin was not moving and immediately became anxious. I'm a little regretful now. If we did this earlier, wouldn't I have already become a demonic cultivator? You wish. It's all because of the environment here. Xiao Qin said. If we did this earlier, it would be good for me. You don't have any and it's easy to be sucked to death by me. If that's the case, then let's not leave. Let's cultivate here until we become peerless experts before coming out. Yi Xiaoye said. There's so much spiritual energy here. If we leave, it'll be a waste. Look at those heroes in Wuxia TV shows. Don't they all go to a cave and cultivate peerless martial arts before coming out? At that time, we'll be like those experts coming out to the demon sect conference and killing everyone. You're thinking too much. First of all, after cultivating for so long, the demon sect conference has already ended. Secondly, there's not much spiritual energy here. Xiao Qin glanced at the fire crystals on the wall. He didn't know if it was because of his special consumption of spiritual energy during cultivation, or if the owner of these fire crystals had already used up a lot of energy. Anyway, many of them had already dimmed. Obviously, there wasn't much spiritual energy left. It was estimated that they could only persist for 1 or 2 more days before completely losing their original effects. Okay. Yi Xiaoye also felt that she was thinking too much. But how do we get out? Why don't we just fly out? Xiao Qin smiled faintly. He was already a cultivator at the peak of Foundation Establishment level 10. He could fly in the air. Of course, the flying distance couldn't be too long. Otherwise, he would still need to use a flying sword. However, even if the distance wasn't long, it was enough to rush out of the volcano. You can fly out? Yi Xiaoye's eyes widened. Isn't your flying sword gone? If it's gone, I'll just ride you and fly, Xiao Qin said. Annoying. Yi Xiaoye's face turned red. Xiao Qin was still on her and hadn't gotten off. She naturally thought of something. Then hurry up and ride. Don't stay still. Xiao Qin's strength had increased greatly, and his mood was much better. He thought that something would happen between him and Yi Xiaoye sooner or later, so he didn't care anymore. Previously, he was afraid that Yi Xiaoye's sect or the so-called demon sect leader would come looking for trouble. After all, Yi Xiaoye was some saintess candidate. She couldn't lose her virginity. However, now that Xiao Qin couldn't kill all martial general level experts in seconds, he definitely had no problem protecting himself. Chapter 775. The two of them cultivated for a while until all the fire crystals in the stone room dimmed and no longer emitted energy. Only then did Xiao Qin get up from Yi Xiaoye's body. Hey, are you done? Yi Xiaoye looked at Xiao Qin strangely. I heard that after a man does it, isn't it only done? What do I have to do? Xiao Qin was taken aback. Just make it. Yi Xiaoye said. Oh, I'm afraid that you'll get pregnant. Besides, aren't we dual cultivating? It's not like it's just that, Xiao Qin said. Oh, but don't you feel uncomfortable? Yi Xiaoye was a little puzzled. It's nothing. Xiao Qin shook his head. He didn't just do it with Yi Xiaoye because of the desire between a man and a woman, but to release the fire poison in his body. These happened to be beneficial to Yi Xiaoye, so both of them improved their strength. However, these dim fire crystals weren't very helpful to Xiao Qin in the later stages, so Xiao Qin's strength was still stuck at the peak of the 10th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Yi Xiaoye, on the other hand, was much more powerful. She was now a 3rd level devil master. Why don't you do it with me for a while? It's simply too good. Yi Xiaoye said reluctantly. Ah. Xiao Qin was taken aback. Don't misunderstand. I mean, it's too good to level up. Yi Xiaoye's face turned red. There's no sense of accomplishment. I won't do it anymore, Xiao Qin said. Oh, the rest is not bad, okay? Yi Xiaoye was a little embarrassed. Then let's wait. Let's go back now. Maybe we can still make it in time for the Devil Gate conference. Xiao Qin said and began to put on his clothes. Oh. Yi Xiaoye thought of business and put on her clothes. When he was ready to leave, Xiao Chen's gaze finally fell on the rectangular box beside the white bones under the stone bed. After hesitating for a moment, Xiao Chen took it in his hand, then carried Yi Xiaoya and leaped up, releasing the Hades flame. Just like before, surrounded by the flames of the netherworld, the two of them rose rapidly, completely unaffected by the lava. By the way, what if the smiling Mithra hasn't left yet? Yi Xiaoya was suddenly worried. Then beat him to death, Xiao Chen said calmly. There was an indescribable confidence in his words. You can beat him now? Yi Xiaoya was surprised. Even if I can't win, I won't suffer a loss, Xiao Chen said calmly. Great. Yi Xiaoya was overjoyed when she heard that. Then you can compete for the demon sect leader. At that time I'll be your wife. Alright. Xiao Chen thought about it and it seemed that it was really possible. Before, he had been thinking about how to destroy the demon sect grand meeting. If he snatched the position of the demon sect leader, wouldn't it be equivalent to destroying it? At that time, the worries of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau would be solved. During the conversation, the two of them had already flown out of the crater, but there was no one outside. The smiling Mithra probably estimated that Xiao Chen and Yi Xiaoya had already been burned to death, so he didn't continue to wait. Standing near the volcano, the first thing Xiao Chen had to do was to find the flying sword. Otherwise he couldn't fly back so far. He hoped that the smiling Mithra wouldn't find it and take it away. Otherwise, Xiao Chen wouldn't have the materials to refine another one. Closing his eyes and sensing the surroundings, Xiao Chen waved his hand, and the flying sword rose from the sea. It turned out that it fell into the sea, but only the owner, Xiao Chen, could find it. Yi Xiaoya was surprised. She followed Xiao Chen on the flying sword and flew in the direction of Wutan town. Xiao Chen, you are so powerful. Can you teach me to learn special abilities? Yi Xiaoya said enviously. This shouldn't be possible. Xiao Chen shook his head. Cultivation was not something that everyone could do. Furthermore, the amount of resources he expended alone was already very shocking. Unless he had a fortuitous encounter in the future, it would be very troublesome to bring along another person to cultivate. Forget it. I'm just curious. Can our baby become a special ability user in the future? Asked Yi Xiaoya. It should be possible? Xiao Chen didn't expect Yi Xiaoya to think so far ahead. She connected it to the baby, but at that time he should already be a very advanced cultivator. It shouldn't be a problem to cultivate with another person. That's good. Yi Xiaoya nodded happily. Although his strength had improved, Xiao Chen's flying speed was still not very fast due to the limitations of the flying sword's material. It was just a little faster than before. About half an hour later, Xiao Chen returned to the previous mountain range. There were no more joyful clan disciples at the foot of the mountain, and it was peaceful again. After flying for a distance, he landed on land with Yi Xiaoya. Wutan town was not far ahead. Xiao Chen didn't want others to see that he could fly. Currently, only the smiling Mithra knew about it. He probably wouldn't say it out loud. Who are you? The demon sect grand meeting is being held. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed to enter. Just as the two of them walked into the town, they were stopped at the door. These were two cultivators at the great perfection of the Demon Master level 10. The aura on their bodies was completely exposed. We are here to participate in the demon sect grand meeting. Xiao Chen said, we are disciples of the Devil Star sect. The grand meeting has already begun. If you are here to participate, you should know about it, right? The gatekeeper looked at Xiao Chen and Yi Xiaoya and said, are you here to fish in troubled waters? How is that possible? We are really disciples of the Devil Star sect. As Yi Xiaoya said that, she took out her Devil Star sect token and said, take a look if you don't believe me. So what if you have a token? That only proves that you are from the Devil Star sect. It doesn't prove that you are a participant. The gatekeeper said, all right, those who are here to watch the fun don't have to come. Why don't you just investigate our identities and names? Xiao Chen said coldly. Investigate? If I investigate everyone, then I don't have to do anything else. All right, hurry up and leave. The gatekeeper waved his hand impatiently. Is that so? Xiao Chen grabbed the collar of the gatekeeper and released his aura in an instant. His strength that was close to the middle stage of Devil General was completely revealed. You are a demon general. The gatekeeper turned pale with fright. Xiao Chen's strength was at least at the 4th or 5th layer of Devil General. This made his complexion suddenly change. This kind of person was the backbone of each sect, and he actually used that kind of arrogant attitude to talk to him. He was simply courting death. Don't worry about what I am. Are you going to investigate? Xiao Chen asked. No need to investigate. The gatekeeper said quickly. What? Xiao Chen lifted him up. No, I mean there is no need to investigate. Please come in. The gatekeeper said quickly, a powerful cultivator like you will definitely not lie. Well, let's go. Xiao Chen put down the gatekeeper and swaggered into Wutan town with Yi Xiaoye. The Demon Gate conference was held in the central square of Wutan town. Yi Xiaoye brought Xiao Chen directly to the square. They stood at the outermost edge and saw a person standing on the arena in the square. He was cupping his fists and smiling at everyone. Thank you for your support. Since no one else came to challenge me, then I, Ma Longting, will be disrespectful to refuse the position of the Demon Gate sect leader. This young man's age couldn't be seen. He was probably in his 30s, or maybe he took good care of himself. It's over? Xiao Chen was stunned. Seems to be a challenge. No one else challenged him, so he naturally became the final winner. Yi Xiaoye said. Looks like I'm a step too late. Where is this person from? Xiao Chen asked. He is the son of the Kuei Mountain sect leader Ma Baozhu. His name is Ma Longting, and his cultivation level is at the 4th level of the Demon General. Yi Xiaoye said, the competition this time limited the age. Only the younger generation of each sect can participate in the selection of the sect leader. To put it nicely, the future of the Demon Gate belongs to the younger generation. Among the younger generation, Ma Longting's strength is the highest. He is at the 4th level of the Demon General. Kuei Mountain sect? Xiao Chen quivered and jumped up. He passed the crowd and flew onto the arena. He stepped on the arena and mocked, aren't some people celebrating too early? The people below haven't said that there are no more challengers, and you call yourself the Demon Gate sect leader? Who are you? Ma Longting was stunned, and a gloomy expression flashed across his face. In his opinion, the other party must have come up to slap his face on purpose. Otherwise, why didn't he come up earlier and only came up when he was about to announce the results? And from the strength that this person displayed when he jumped onto the arena, he was definitely a demon general. He didn't come with good intentions. Fiend Star Sect disciple Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen said plainly, you can also call me Hero White Fox. Hero your head, Fiend Star Sect? Just a small sect and you want to compete for the Demon Gate sect leader? You are overestimating yourself. Since you are not convinced, then very well, I will make you convinced. When he heard that Xiao Chen was a disciple of the Fiend Star Sect, Ma Longting was instantly relieved. He thought that the other party was a rival sect looking for trouble. He didn't expect it to be a small sect, so there was nothing to be afraid of. One had to know that although the Kuei Mountain sect was the strongest sect in the outside world, there were some demon gates whose strength was on par with the Kuei Mountain sect. Some even surpassed the Kuei Mountain sect. However, the Kuei Mountain sect had a background and backing, so it became the #1 demon gate. It was normal for other sects to be unconvinced, but he didn't expect it to be the Fiend Star sect. Isn't that Xiao Chen? Junior brother's smiling face, this guy didn't die after falling into the volcano? Taoist Dian Long said to smiling face Mithreya beside him in surprise. That's strange. This kid really didn't die. Smiling face Mithreya was also shocked. And how did his strength become a demon general? Could it be that he was hiding his strength before? In his opinion, it was simply impossible for Xiao Chen to increase his cultivation by so many levels in less than a month. Even if he had a fortuitous encounter, it was still impossible. So, the only possibility was that Xiao Chen had been concealing his strength. Or it could be said that he wasn't hiding it on purpose, but because of some special reason, his strength was suppressed and now it was released. Chapter 776. That's good too. Since he's not dead, let's find a chance to snatch that flying Dharma treasure. Eldest senior brother said. Seeing that Xiao Chen was here, it was obvious that the flying Dharma treasure was not damaged. Otherwise, how could it have flown across the sea? Eldest senior brother is right. Smiling Mithreya was overjoyed. Qi Xiangmei looked at Xiao Chen in surprise. She did not expect him to represent the Devil Star sect to challenge. Previously, when Yi Xiaoye asked for a spot, Qi Xiangmei thought she was just there to join in the fun. She did not see Xiao Chen on the stage along the way, so Qi Xiangmei subconsciously confirmed her thoughts. In the end, Xiao Chen amazed the world with a brilliant feat at the end. She was a little worried. If Xiao Chen went up and lost, it would be embarrassing. If he won, how could he win? She knew Xiao Chen's strength. Although he displayed extraordinary strength when he jumped into the arena, she had a close relationship with Yi Xiaoye. If Xiao Chen was really that powerful, Yi Xiaoye would definitely tell her. Now she did not. Thinking of this, Qi Xiangmei found Yi Xiaoya at the back of the crowd and walked over quickly. Master? Yi Xiaoya did not expect her master to look for her. Little Yi Xiaochen, how did? Qi Xiangmei's gaze suddenly sharpened. She scanned Yi Xiaoya's body and her expression changed. She asked anxiously, what happened? You lost your virginity? Master. Yi Xiaoya's face turned red. She did not expect her master to have such sharp eyes. She saw through the problem in an instant. When did this happen? Qi Xiangmei asked sternly. Who did it? This. Yi Xiaoya lowered her head. Didn't I tell you that you are a candidate for the devil sect Saintus? If you lose your virginity, what if the Quishan sect uses this as an excuse to deal with the devil star sect? If you want to break it, at least wait until the matter is over. Qi Xiangmei was a little angry. Aren't you harming the sect and harming yourself? Yi Xiaoya didn't know what to say. Is it Xiaoqin? Qi Xiangmei asked with a frown. This. Yi Xiaoya didn't give a direct answer. Isn't this the same as harming Xiaoqin? Qi Xiangmei was so angry that she didn't know what to say. Did you instigate Xiaoqin to go on stage to challenge? I am master. In a while, when Xiaoqin gets the position of sect master, everything will be fine. Yi Xiaoya saw that her master was about to explode at any time, so she quickly comforted her. Get the sect master? How is that possible? Qi Xiangmei was stunned. You'll know when you see it. In fact, Yi Xiaoya was also a little stunned. She didn't expect that she could get him on the stage with just a few words. Anyone can brag, but let me ask first, what are the rules? Xiaoqin asked. Rules? You don't even know the rules and you dare to participate in the competition. Did you purposely come up here to make a fool of yourself? Ma Qingting instantly laughed when he heard this. This was the most ridiculous opponent he had ever seen. I just fell asleep. I don't want to watch the fight between these small shrimps. Hurry up and tell me the rules. Xiaoqin said indifferently. Rules? It means there are no rules. Ma Qingting sneered and said, that is to say, even if I kill you, you will die for nothing. I know. Xiaoqin suddenly attacked. Dark Flame Palm. At this moment, Xiaoqin's peak foundation establishment 10th level strength was fully displayed. Combined with his martial skill, his power was vaguely approaching the 6th or 7th level of Demon General. Boom. Just as Ma Qingting finished laughing, he was slapped off the stage by Xiaoqin and smashed into the ground, creating a deep pit. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood, but luckily he didn't die. Qingting. Ma Qingting was shocked. He hurriedly ran over and hugged Ma Qingting, but he found that the bones in Ma Qingting's chest were all broken. Although it wasn't life-threatening, the injury was very serious. I'm fine. Ma Qingting spat out another mouthful of blood and fainted. Xiaoqin, you actually broke the rules and cheated. Ma Qingting pointed at Xiaoqin and shouted. Rules? Are you stupid? Or did water get into your head? Xiaoqin looked at Ma Qingting in surprise. Ma Qingting just said that the rules mean there are no rules. Didn't you hear it just now? This. Ma Qingting was speechless. These words were indeed said by Ma Qingting, and he really couldn't refute it. Alright, I'm Xiaoqin from the Demonic Star Sect. Everyone feel free to challenge me. I'll accept your challenge. Xiaoqin stood on the stage, cupped his fists and spoke in a carefree manner. The people below the stage looked at each other, speechless. This huge change stunned everyone present. When did such a dark horse appear in the Devil Star Sect? A magnificent reversal at the last moment. However, even if they were envious, no one dared to challenge him. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that the strength displayed by Xiaoqin's palm strike earlier was something that could only be unleashed by a demonic general of the 6th layer. Who among them had such strength? Xiaoqin saw that no one came up, so he imitated Ma Qingting and said, Thank you for your appreciation. Since no one else wants to challenge me, then I, Xiaoqin, will accept the position of the Outer Pugilistic Demon Sect Master. Ma Qingting's face darkened, but looking at his son in his arms, he definitely couldn't go up to challenge him. Moreover, his son was the strongest in the Kuei Mountain sect. If others went up, they would just be courting death. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he really couldn't make false accusations. He could only say against his will, that's right. If no one else wants to challenge me, then I will announce that Devil Star Sect's Xiaoqin is this time's Outer Pugilistic Demon Sect Master. Xiaoqin was stunned. It can't be? He got the position of Demon Sect Master so easily? Of course, the most excited person was Qi Xiangmei. She looked at Yi Xiaoya. Was what this girl said true? Xiaoqun got the position of sect master just like that? Ahem, is there anyone else who wants to challenge me? If you miss this opportunity you won't get another one. Ma Qingting continued to provoke the crowd. Because no one refuted him when he spoke just now, he really didn't want the position of sect master to fall into the hands of an unknown nobody. Everyone looked at each other. You mother***er, don't you feel pain in your back when you speak? Xiaoqun was at least a level 6 demon general. Who would dare to go up and get beaten up? Ma Qingting **King set a limit for participants to be over 35 years old. Wasn't your son the strongest among those under 35 years old? However, at this moment, everyone was a little gloating. When they heard about this rule, they more or less guessed that the Kuei Mountain sect wanted to give the position of sect master to Ma Qingting. In the end, Qing Yaojin came out of nowhere and shattered their dreams. Haha, since no one objects, then it would be impolite of me to refuse. By the way, can I start choosing the demon sect's saintess? Xiaoqun turned to look at Ma Qingting and asked. This can wait a little longer. Ma Qingting said with a dark face. He still wanted to bring all the beauties from other sects into his son's room, indirectly turning it into a marriage alliance with other demon sects. Then he could control them. But now, how could he be willing to let Xiaoqun take advantage of all this? Wait your head. You're the sect master and I'm the sect master? What you say goes and what I say goes. Xiaoqun said angrily. Of course the sect master has the final say. Ma Qingting finally understood what it felt like to shoot oneself in the foot. He had set up such a demon sect master election. Now that the sect master had been chosen, if he was the first to disobey, then this event would become a joke. His Kuei Mountain sect would also become the laughing stock of the outer martial arts world. They would not be able to hold such a sect master election in the future. Now Ma Qingting's only thought was to wait for Xiaoqun to be the sect master for this term and let his son take the position again in the next election. After thinking about it, he decided to forget about it since it was just a few women. He could only say, however, according to the rules you can only choose one. Don't choose too many because the demon sect master of the outer martial arts world is not for life. They are chosen once a year. You have to leave some for others, right? What? Xiaoqun looked askance at Ma Qingting. When the others heard Ma Qingting's words they were confused. Why did the sect master be chosen once a year? It was not mentioned before. However, after thinking about it carefully, they understood that the Kuei Mountain sect was not willing to accept this. However, these people did not have a good relationship with the Devil Star sect. There was no need to offend the Kuei Mountain sect over this matter. Hence, after being surprised, no one stood up to object. This is the rule set by the Kuei Mountain sect, the leader of our demon sect's event. Everyone is clear, right? Ma Qingting was impressed by his wit. He had finally found a solution. He wanted to say half a year, but that would be a little too disgusting. Hence, after thinking about it, he decided to say 1 year. Clear, I support it. The one who stood up to support was actually the smiling Mithriya of the Joyful clan. He looked at Xiaoqun on the stage with a smile and a fierce look in his eyes. However, he really did not dare to confront Xiaoqun head-on at this moment. Xiaoqun was now the demon sect master, and this was led by the Kuei Mountain sect. If he tried to kill Xiaoqun on the first day of Xiaoqun's appointment, wouldn't it be equivalent to slapping the Kuei Mountain sect in the face? Although the Kuei Mountain sect would definitely be happy to see this, they would definitely hypocritically punish and denounce the Joyful clan. He would not do such a strenuous and unrewarding thing. Wasn't it just 1 year? He would kill Xiaoqun a year later. Moreover, as long as the limelight was over, he could secretly find a chance to kill Xiaoqun. The Kuei Mountain sect would not know who killed him, and he believed that they would not investigate in detail. Hence, he planned to build a good relationship with the Kuei Mountain sect first. Not bad. Since everyone supports it, then it's settled. Ma Qingting made a generalization and then said to Xiaoqun, you can choose a woman from the demon sect as your partner. Do you have a list? Xiaoqun wanted to say Qing Minjing, but on second thought, the young mistress was not a saintess candidate at all. All he knew was Yi Xiaoya and Hongzhu. He was not sure if Xin Jingxian was considered one. Chapter 777. As for Hongzhu, he did not need to worry about him at all. After thinking for a while, Xiaoqun said, it's better to be familiar with this kind of thing. I've decided to choose Yi Bia from the demonic star sect. No problem. Ma Qizhu was very happy when he heard that Xiaoqun was from the demonic star sect. He was afraid that Xiaoqun would choose other powerful sections. In that case, the election next year would be very stressful. After all, the demonic star sect and the sect he was going to marry did not want Xiao Chen to step down, so they would take some measures to give Ma Qizhu a headache. Now that there was only the demonic star sect, there was nothing to be afraid of. Yi Xiaoye was very surprised after hearing this. Qi Xiangmei also hoped that at least Xiao Chen was a responsible person. In this way, Yi Xiaoye did not have to worry about being blamed at all, because from this moment on, she was Xiao Chen's woman. Master, see, I told you. Yi Xiaoye was very happy. Well, but I'm afraid that things are not so simple. The Quishan sect does not dare to do anything to Xiao Chen openly, but after all, Xiao Chen took their position. I'm afraid that they will secretly deal with Xiao Chen. Qi Xiangmei said with some worry. Ah. After the excitement, Yi Xiaoye remembered this important thing. Her face suddenly showed a worried look. What should we do? I don't know. Qi Xiangmei smiled bitterly. But I think Xiao Chen has a complete plan. Yi Xiaoye was relieved after hearing this. Thinking about it, it was true. Every time Xiao Chen seemed to be confident. Because the final leader of the demonic star sect was not Ma Qingfei, but Xiao Chen, Ma Qizhu did not want to continue the event. Originally, after Ma Qingfei took office, there would be a series of measures and joint activities, but these were all cancelled by Ma Qizhu. He could not let an outsider, Xiao Chen, take advantage of him, right? He was going to let Xiao Chen exist in name only and delay the plan for a year. Anyway, 1 year was not long, so he stood up and announced. Well, this year's Demonic Star Sect conference is over. Everyone can go back. Demonic Star Sect leader Xiao Chen, if there are any actions or orders in the future, you can coordinate with the host of the Demonic Star Sect, the Quishan sect. A cold smile flashed across Xiao Chen's lips. He also knew what was going on with the Demon Sect master. It would be strange if Ma Wuxiao allowed him to take over. However, he didn't want to be a sect master. His main purpose was to cause destruction. Now that he had achieved his goal, nothing else mattered. Although Xiao Chen was a well-known figure among the younger generation of the demon sect, Xiao Chen was still not a match for those old fellows. Who knew if there was an existence that surpassed the demon general? Therefore, Xiao Chen did not intend to force everyone to obey his orders at this time. That was unrealistic and impossible. Things could only be reversed when pushed to the extreme. Alright, everyone go back and rest. This sect leader doesn't have anything to ask of you for the time being. Xiao Chen waved his hand and left the stage. Everyone was very satisfied with Xiao Chen's tactfulness. If the sect master was Ma Qingting, everyone feared the Kuei Mountain sect's reputation and might have disobeyed. However, the sect master was Xiao Chen of the Devil Star sect. Why should they give him face? Therefore, it was better for Xiao Chen to know his own limits. It would save everyone from falling out with each other. Xiao Chen came to Yi Xiaoye's side and gently held Yi Xiaoye's hand, making her feel sweet in her heart. Let's go back to the inn. Xiao Chen said, Senior Qi, please. Xiao Chen, you're not bad. Qi Xiangmei was very satisfied that her disciple could follow Xiao Chen especially, but she thought about it and said, You don't have to be so polite. Since you claim to be a disciple of the Devil Star sect, you can call me Martial Uncle. Yes, Martial Uncle. Xiao Chen did not refuse. The three of them left just like that. At least, Ma Beiki felt a little better. He was afraid that Xiao Chen would use the name of the demon sect master to criticize him. If that happened, it would be really troublesome. Since Xiao Chen had left, then so be it. The Devil Star Conference ended with a strong start and a weak finish. However, everyone tactfully did not talk about it. Back at the inn, the innkeeper could not help but be stunned when he saw Xiao Chen. Did Xiao Chen escape the smiling Mithria's pursuit? And he swaggered back. Could it be that the matter was resolved? Young hero, you're back? Are you checking out? The innkeeper smiled. No, I'll stay for a few more days, Xiao Chen said. Ah. The innkeeper was stunned, but then he said awkwardly, I'm sorry, young hero. The inn has been full these days. There are no more vacancies. When Xiao Chen and Yi Xiaoye came, not all the people of the Devil Star sect had arrived. After that, as the number of people increased, there were basically no more vacancies. Do you want to turn the world upside down? How dare you say there are no vacancies without seeing the arrival of the Devil Star sect master? Before Xiao Chen could speak, a familiar voice sounded. This surprised Xiao Chen because he was too familiar with the owner of the voice. It was the smiling Mithria who had a grudge against him. However, Xiao Chen was also very puzzled. Why did the smiling Mithria speak up for him? The innkeeper was stunned. He looked at Xiao Chen strangely and then looked at the smiling Mithria. Isn't this the guy who chased after Xiao Chen? Why are the two of them together? Seems they are speaking up for Xiao Chen? However, who is the Devil Star Sect Master? This is the new Devil Star Sect Master, Xiao Chen Hero Xiao. How dare you say there are no vacancies? The smiling Mithria pointed at Xiao Chen and said to the innkeeper, "Hurry up, find 2 superior rooms." Yes. The innkeeper actually reserved superior rooms for emergencies, but he would not use them usually. Now that he heard that Xiao Chen was the Devil Star Sect Master, he was suddenly surprised. However, it was not appropriate to ask. He could only say, "Hero Xiao, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were the Devil Star Sect Master. I will help you prepare them. Please come with me." Xiao Chen nodded, but he was even more puzzled. This smiling Mithria really spoke up for me. What does he want? Following behind the shopkeeper, Xiao Chen's group went upstairs. As expected, the smiling Mithria Buddha followed behind them. However, only the smiling Mithria Buddha went upstairs alone. His disciple stayed downstairs. No one knew what he was up to. The innkeeper opened 2 very luxurious suites and said respectfully, "Hero Xiao, please." Xiao Chen nodded. He gestured for Yi Xiaoya and Qi Xiangmei to walk into one room, and he went to the other room with the smiling Mithria. He believed that the smiling Mithria must have something to talk to him about. Yi Xiaoya looked at Xiao Chen with some worry, but seeing that he insisted, she did not say much and went to the next room with her master. Xiao Chen did not believe that the smiling Mithria would dare to do anything to him in the inn. That was purely courting death. At that time, the Quishan sect would not let him go. Although Xiao Chen was not a real sect master, at least he was chosen according to the rules of the Quishan sect. After entering the room, Xiao Chen took the initiative to close the door. Then he made a gesture to the smiling Mithria and said lightly, "Smiling Mithria, let's cut the crap. If you have something to say, just say it. I don't think there's any need for pleasantries between us. You threw me into the volcano, I still remember that. Hee, aren't you fine now?" The smiling Mithria laughed, but he was puzzled. "Why didn't you die? How did you survive?" "I'm fine now because my injuries have healed and my strength has recovered. Otherwise, wouldn't I have died at the bottom of the volcano?" Xiao Chen said angrily, "Why don't you have any awareness at all? Hurry up and say it. Don't try to get close to me. It's useless." "Well, if that's the case, then I'll be honest. Xiao Chen, do you think you can do whatever you want just because you're the sect master? Are you not afraid of me?" The smiling Mithria sneered and snorted. "Is there something wrong with you? Are your ears stuffed with chicken feathers? Can't you understand what I'm talking to you?" Xiao Chen frowned and said impatiently, "If you have nothing to say, please go back." "You?" The smiling Mithria was furious. "Do you really think that you're very bad *SS? I'm telling you, once you're out of Wutan town, I can kill you in minutes." "Oh, my true strength is that of a great perfection demonic general. I'll recover soon. At that time, it's still uncertain who will be the one to die." Xiao Chen curled his lips and threatened. In any case, there was no tax on bragging. "What?" The smiling Mithria was shocked after hearing it. If it were in the past, he definitely wouldn't believe such a shocking thing. Who would say that he was the Demon General Great Perfection at the 6th level of the Demon General Great Perfection? But he didn't dare to disbelieve Xiao Chen. In his opinion, Xiao Chen was only a demon master at the 4th or 5th level. In the blink of an eye, he became a demon general at the 6th level in less than a month. Don't say that this guy broke through within a month. The smiling Mithria wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. There was only one possibility. Xiao Chen originally had such strength, but his strength declined for some reason and didn't recover. Xiao Chen's words just now also confirmed this point. It was because Xiao Chen recovered his strength that he could fly out of the volcano. In this way, Xiao Chen might really be the Demon General Great Perfection. "Do you have anything to say?" Xiao Chen said angrily, "I'm telling you, you either kill me now or pretend to be bad *SS in front of me. Get lost. I'll find a way to kill you later. Let's stop joking." The smiling Mithria finally looked at Xiao Chen and coughed twice. "Xiao Chen, I admit that you may be the Demon General Great Perfection, but so what? Do you think you can fight against our entire sect alone? Obviously not, right? Our sect has a higher level existence." "Then?" asked Xiao Chen. "Then you may run fast, but you have to consider your family, right? I've already investigated. You are from the secular Xiao family. Compared to our joyful clan, a small Xiao family, hee." The smiling Mithria's tone was full of threat. Chapter 778. Are you done? What the hell do you want to say? Are you talking to me? Xiao Qin stood up and made a gesture to send the guest off. Please? No, you misunderstood. I'm just stating the facts. What I really want to say to you is, can you give me your flying magic weapon? Smiling Mithria saw that Xiao Qin was really anxious, so he quickly said the purpose of this trip. He originally planned to rob the flying magic weapon with threats and promises, but seeing that Xiao Qin was so tough, and he heard that Xiao Qin was also at the level of Demon General Great Perfection, he immediately changed his strategy. Of course, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about giving it to me for free, but in exchange. Hee. Xiao Qin smiled. In the end, you still have your eyes on my magic weapon. Exactly, Xiao Qin, I don't want to rob. If you have any conditions, you can put forward them. As long as I can satisfy them, I will find a way. Smiling Mithria said. In fact, in the final analysis he was still threatening, but this method was more acceptable, and it also made Xiao Qin look good. Sure enough, after he finished speaking, Xiao Qin fell into deep thought. He seemed to be thinking about this matter. In fact, Xiao Qin was also thinking about the pros and cons of this matter. To be honest, he didn't want to offend Smiling Mithria, at least not now. He didn't dare to bet that Smiling Mithria would really not do anything to the Xiao family. If they made a move, then Xiao Qin would regret it, but this matter couldn't be completely taken advantage of by Smiling Mithria. This flying magic treasure of mine is not something that just anyone can control. It requires a strong will. Don't think that I could control it just because I was a demon master back then. That's because I was once a demon general at the Great Perfection stage. That's why I found a way to control it with my will. Even after I dropped a level, I was still able to control it, Xiao Qin said slowly. Oh, of course I understand this. The more advanced the magic weapon, the more difficult it is to control, but I am also at the level of Demon General Great Perfection. I can do it, said Smiling Mithria. But I'm afraid you can't, said Xiao Qin. Don't worry about that. If you're willing to give it to me, I'll think of a way myself. When the Smiling Mithria heard Xiao Qin's words, it seemed that there was a way. However, Xiao Qin was obviously reluctant to leave and was making the last struggle. Alright, I need some medicinal herbs. If you can satisfy me, I'll trade with you. Xiao Qin seemed to have made a difficult decision as he gritted his teeth and said, Oh, tell me. The Smiling Mithria was overjoyed. Elder Heaven Ancestor, I want to break through to the next stage of Foundation Establishment, the Golden Core stage. What herbs do I need? Xiao Qin asked Elder Heaven Ancestor. The Outer Star Ink meteorite in your hand is one of them. As for the rest, you just need to find something called the Everlasting Golden Pill Fruit, said the Elder Heaven Ancestor. I want the Myriad Golden Dan Fruit. Xiao Qin said. Oh, Myriad Golden Pill Fruit? What's that? The Smiling Mithria was stunned as he had never heard of this medicinal herb. Xiao Qin was also stunned. No way, he has never heard of the Smiling Mithria? He was about to ask Elder Heaven Ancestor when the Elder Heaven Ancestor said, It's not that I haven't heard of it, but this thing is not called this now. There are other names. How about you describe the appearance of this medicinal herb to him? As he spoke, the Elder Heaven Ancestor described the appearance of the Everlasting Golden Pill Fruit in Xiao Qin's ear, and Xiao Qin repeated it to the Smiling Mithria. Isn't this the Everlasting King Fruit? A medicinal herb for breaking through to the Demon King realm? Are you really a Demon General Peak? You want to break through to the Demon King realm? The Smiling Mithria suddenly looked at Xiao Qin in horror. Xiao Qin was also astonished. It turned out that the Myriad Golden Pill Fruit was also effective on demonic cultivators. However, he remained calm on the surface and said, That's right. What's wrong? Are you going to trade or not? Exchange, of course, exchange it. The Smiling Mithria looked at Xiao Qin strangely. Although the Everlasting King Fruit was rare, it was not enough to exchange for a magic weapon. Moreover, it did not mean that as long as a Demon General Peak ate the Everlasting King Fruit they could break through. Some people ate 8 to 10 and still could not break through. Moreover, the Demon King who used this medicine to assist in breaking through could easily lose his mind in the moment of advancement, so generally speaking, no one would use it unless it was a last resort. The Smiling Mithria was also a Demon General Peak 10th level cultivator for many years, but he did not dare to eat the Everlasting King Fruit. He was also afraid of losing his mind and dying. Oh, I'm not talking about one, don't get it wrong. Seeing that this guy agreed so quickly, Xiao Qin naturally began to demand an exorbitant price. Then how many do you want? The Smiling Mithria was not angry. In his opinion, 1 for 1 was abnormal and Xiao Qin was reasonable. Otherwise, he would have thought that Xiao Qin was playing with him. Xiao Qin said. 5 is not that many. The smiling Mithriya said honestly, to be honest, your condition is not high. It can only be said to be an exchange. I only have 3, do you want to exchange? Can I not exchange? Xiao Qin said impatiently. It sounded as if he was admitting defeat. In fact, Xiao Qin's original intention was to exchange for 1. This was a good thing. Unless he was stupid, he would not exchange. Good, straightforward. Since that's the case, let's write off all the grudges from before. The smiling Mithriya was straightforward. Seeing that Xiao Qin was so understanding, he did not want to make things difficult for him anymore. Okay, when do you want to exchange? Xiao Qin asked. This old man will call the sect and ask them to send an express delivery, said the smiling Mithriya. Xiao Qin nodded and said, okay, I have been living here. I will exchange the goods at the same time. I will not send you off. This old man can go by himself. The smiling Mithriya achieved his goal and did not stay. He got up and left Xiao Qin's room. He was very satisfied. Xiao Qin waited for the smiling Mithriya to leave and was about to contact Yi Xiaoye. He did not expect her door to open. It turned out that Yi Xiaoye had been paying attention to Xiao Qin's side. When she heard the movement at the door, she immediately came out to see. He left. Yi Xiaoye walked into Xiao Qin's room, and Qi Xiangmei followed closely. She saw that there was no figure of the smiling Mithriya in the room, and there was no trace of a fight. She could not help but be surprised and confused. He left. He came to exchange for my flying sword. Xiao Qin smiled and said, he is not here to fight. You don't have to worry. Then did you exchange with him? Asked Yi Xiaoye. Yes, there is no need to offend him. Xiao Qin said faintly, I have to change his appearance and I also exchanged what I want. Xiao Qin, do you want to exchange for a flying magic weapon? Previously, Yi Xiaoye told Qi Xiangmei about her and Xiao Qin's previous adventures, so she naturally thought of a flying magic weapon. Yes, that's it. Xiao Qin nodded. Qi Xiangmei was shocked when she heard that. She said, Xiao Qin, this flying magic treasure is an important treasure in any martial arts sect. Why did you change it just like that? He threatened the secular Xiao family. Xiao Qin smiled bitterly and said, what's more, I have a grudge against him. If I don't give him some benefits, will he let it go? The secular Xiao family? Qi Xiangmei was slightly stunned and then said with some anger, this smiling Mithriya. He lied to you. We, the people of the martial arts world, are not allowed to intervene in the affairs of the secular world. This is the agreement with the Martial Arts World Guild. If we go to the secular world to kill people, won't it be a mess? There is such a saying? Xiao Qin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It seemed that he was fooled by the smiling Mithriya, but there was nothing wrong with it. Who asked him to not know? Moreover, Xiao Qin didn't feel that he was at a loss at all. The flying sword could not be used by others except him. It was a waste if he took it back. It was just a broken piece of art. It was really worth it to exchange for 3 10,000 Crossing King. Yes, so you were cheated. Think of a way to refuse it, Qi Xiangmei said. No need. This flying magic weapon is not valuable. Just give it to him. Besides, I also need the things he exchanged for. Xiao Qin said indifferently. Well, you decide. Qi Xiangmei saw that Xiao Qin insisted, so she couldn't do anything. After all, Xiao Qin wasn't her real disciple. She could force Yi Xiaoye to do something, but she couldn't control Xiao Qin. Since Xiao Qin had already decided and she also reminded him, then how to choose was up to Xiao Qin himself. Martial ant, you don't have to worry. It's really not a good thing. Xiao Qin said, it's just a broken sword. Since you said so, then I won't say it. Qi Xiangmei nodded. Little Yi, you stay here. I'm going back. Okay. Yi Xiaoye's face turned red. Although she was the saintess chosen by Xiao Qin and could be together with Xiao Qin, she was still a bit embarrassed, especially in front of her master. But seeing Qi Xiangmei's expressionless face, she felt relieved. After her master left, Yi Xiaoye said, what did that smiling Mithriya want from you? He used 3 10,000 Crossing King fruits to exchange for my flying sword. Xiao Qin said, 10,000 Crossing King fruit? That's really a good thing. But if you really want to exchange it for a flying sword, it's not worth it. Yi Xiaoye was surprised and said, oh right, you said that your flying sword is not valuable. What? This flying sword is a handicraft sword. I made it myself. It's not valuable at all. Give it to him and I'll make another one. Xiao Qin took out the flying sword and handed it to Yi Xiaoye. Then can he find out and not exchange with you? Yi Xiaoye said. Probably not. Xiao Qin smiled and said, let's not care about him. Do you still want to dual cultivate? There's no spiritual energy here. How can we dual cultivate? If you want to do it, just say it. You don't have to be so dignified and add the reason of cultivation. Yi Xiaoye rolled her eyes at Xiao Chen. What nonsense. I really want to dual cultivate with you. Since you don't want it, then let's just do that. Xiao Chen sighed. Ah, then let's dual cultivate. Yi Xiaoye quickly said. The night was uneventful. Early the next morning there was a hurried knock on the door. Without guessing, it must be the smiling Maitreya. Chapter 779. Who is it? Are you seeking death so early in the morning? Xiao Chen said impatiently. He could not even rest for a while. Aha, young hero Xiao Chen, it's me, the smiling Maitreya. Indeed, the smiling Maitreya's voice came from outside the door. Oh, are you done? Xiao Chen walked over and opened the door. I have never seen you so impatient. Did you bring the item? Yes, I brought it. The smiling Maitreya nodded quickly. He was afraid that Xiao Chen would not exchange with him. He stuffed a small box into Xiao Chen's hands and was about to enter the house. Stop. My wife is sleeping inside. What are you doing? Xiao Chen stopped the smiling Maitreya. Aren't you going to exchange with me? Are we not going to do it in the house? The smiling Maitreya asked as he rubbed his hands. Of course we can do it anywhere. Let's go to the backyard. There are not many people there, Xiao Chen said. All right, we will do it wherever you say. Xiao Chen had already agreed to the exchange. The smiling Maitreya was afraid of complications, so he agreed to whatever Xiao Chen said. He followed Xiao Chen downstairs and arrived at the backyard of the inn. There was indeed no one there early in the morning. The Flying Star Divine Sword is here. Check it. As Xiao Chen spoke, he pulled out the flying sword from his waist and handed it to the smiling Maitreya. All right, all right. The smiling Maitreya carefully received the flying sword and studied it. As for Xiao Chen, he opened the wooden box and started to examine the 10,000 crossing monarch fruits. They were exactly as the Elder Heaven Ancestor had described yesterday, giving off a fragrance and abundant spiritual energy. Xiao Chen was very satisfied with the item. Now it was up to the smiling Maitreya. However, it was about the same as the 3 joyous sect disciples. When the smiling Maitreya saw the words, "Made by the Winter Seal Handicraft Factory," on the sword hilt, he immediately flew into a rage. Xiao Chen, you lied to me? This is not a Flying Star legendary sword at all. It's obviously a piece of garbage that was bought on the street. Why do you say that? Xiao Chen pretended to be surprised. If you don't want to exchange, then don't exchange. Is there a need to use a fake to fool me? I didn't expect the dignified demon sect master of the outer martial arts world to be a swindler. The smiling Maitreya sneered. If you don't want to do it and want to go back on your words, just say it. Don't blame others. Xiao Chen snatched the flying sword angrily, and then shoved the wooden box with the myriad monarch fruit to the smiling Maitreya. I'm leaving if you don't want it. You want to act shamelessly. Smiling Maitreya was very angry. It was obviously Xiao Chen who acted shamelessly. Why did he blame him? However, Xiao Chen ignored him and directly threw the flying sword under his feet. He stepped on it and instantly took off, flying towards the inn where Xiao Chen was. Ah! The smiling Maitreya's eyes widened. What was going on? It can't be, right? Was this really the Flying Star Sword? Why did it say, "Made by the Winter Seal Arts and Crafts Factory"? He watched Xiao Chen use the Flying Star Sword in front of him. No matter how stupid he was, he knew that the sword was a real flying magic weapon. Xiao Chen didn't lie to him. At that moment he understood why Xiao Chen was so angry. He took out the real thing, but he insisted that it was a fake. Wouldn't he be angry and refuse to exchange? He probably didn't want to exchange it. Thinking of this, the smiling Maitreya was very regretful. Xiao Chen could fly, but he couldn't. He could only run back to the inn quickly. He went upstairs and came to the door of Xiao Chen's room again. He carefully knocked on the door. Who is it? Xiao Chen's bored voice came from inside. Hero Xiao Chen, I'm the smiling Maitreya. I offended you just now. I shouldn't have doubted you. The smiling Maitreya smiled shamelessly. Oh, is there anything else? Let's forget about what happened just now. I want to rest, said Xiao Chen. Aren't we going to continue the exchange? The smiling Maitreya was shocked. It seemed that Xiao Chen didn't plan to exchange. That wouldn't do, so he quickly said, Xiao Chen, I was just testing you. It's not that I don't want to exchange. Oh, but I don't want to exchange now. Xiao Chen said slowly, is there anything else? But this. The smiling Maitreya hated himself. Why didn't I let Xiao Qin demonstrate just now? It was a normal request to have him demonstrate, but I questioned Xiao Qin. Now he didn't want to exchange. Are you done? Xiao Qin said impatiently. In this case, Hero Xiao Qin, can I increase the money to exchange? What else do you want? Say it. I was wrong just now. I'm very sincere. The smiling Mithria had no choice but to say so. Increase the money? After Xiao Qin heard it, his heart moved. He just wanted to teach the smiling Mithria a lesson. It was impossible not to exchange, so it was about time to stop. He walked over and opened the door. He said, "Okay, seeing that you are so sincere, I reluctantly agree, but why do you want to increase the money? You say it." When the smiling Mithria saw Xiao Qin open the door, he suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't know what Xiao Qin was thinking. He thought that Xiao Qin didn't want to exchange just now. If that was the case, he really couldn't do anything to Xiao Qin. He was a person who cared about his face. If it was said that he took the initiative to give up the exchange, what did it have to do with Xiao Qin? At that time, he really couldn't use this as a reason to deal with Xiao Qin. Even if there were other reasons to deal with him, others would definitely think that he was taking revenge. I want Spirit Jade. Do you have it? Asked Xiao Qin. Spiritual jades, not money. After the smiling Mithria heard it, he suddenly frowned and said, "This is not easy to deal with. I have to go back and discuss it. How much spirit jade do you want? How much can you take out?" asked Xiao Qin. The smiling Mithria was a little speechless. This was obviously asking him to state a price. It was not worthwhile for him to state a higher price. If it was less, he was afraid that Xiao Qin would not agree. He thought about it and could only say, "Maybe only 10 or 20 yuan. I have to discuss it with the big brother and give you an answer." "I'm not in a hurry." Xiao Qin closed the door directly. The smiling Mithria could only go back to the room where the joyous clan was. At this time, the old Taoist Yanlong and the big brother were already waiting in the room. When they saw the smiling Mithria coming, they quickly asked, "Did you get the thing?" "AI, don't mention it." The smiling Mithria sighed and waved his hand, looking depressed. "Why, that kid played with you and you regret it." The big brother's eyes were fierce, and he got up to find Xiao Qin to settle accounts. Don't think that he can go back on his words just because he is the master of the demon clan. Wait. The smiling Mithria was shocked and quickly stopped him. "No, big brother, don't be anxious. Listen to me." "Oh? Tell me what's going on." The big brother asked with a gloomy face. "It's me." The smiling Mithria said that he suspected Xiao Qin, which led to Xiao Qin not wanting to exchange. He did not dare to lie in front of the big brother, and he did not dare to add fuel to the fire. "You." The big brother did not know what to say after hearing it. After a long time, he said, "You are purely looking for trouble and asking for trouble. He wants the spiritual jade. I guess the Devil Star sect wants it to please the people in the martial arts world." "Yes, so I did not dare to agree. Big brother, you see." The smiling Mithria knew that he was in trouble, so he was careful. "Give him 20. We have already accumulated a lot. It doesn't matter if we give him 20. The big brother said helplessly, "In comparison, the flying magic treasure is more useful. I hope you don't cause unnecessary trouble." "Yes." The smiling Mithria immediately breathed a sigh of relief and nodded. Xiao Qin did not expect the smiling Mithria to come back immediately. Even if he used the spiritual jade to exchange, it would at least be tomorrow. Xiao Qin now had time, so he planned to study the wooden box that he took back from under the stone bed. Carefully opening the wooden box, Xiao Qin was always on guard against any strange things coming out, but obviously there was none. In the wooden box, there was only an antique ancient sword. Xiao Qin exclaimed in surprise and asked the elder heaven ancestor, "What is this? Is it the flying sword of the cultivator who took over the body?" "It seems to be, but there is a fire attribute on it. You need to refine it yourself before you can use it." The elder heaven ancestor said, "The refining process should be more troublesome than the last time, but you are now a cultivator at the peak of the 10th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. There should be no problem." "I'm going out to buy materials." Xiao Qin put away the ancient sword and said to Yi Xiaoye, "Let's go out for a while." "What for? Also, why is there a sword in your box? Do you want to turn this sword into a new flying sword?" Yi Xiaoye guessed something. "Exactly." Xiao Qin nodded. "If the old doesn't go, the new won't come." The sentence really makes sense. "What? Do you want to replace me?" Yi Xiaoye glared at Xiao Qin. "People and things are different." Xiao Qin said with a smile, "People need the old and the new." You're quite a playboy. Yi Xiaoye got out of the bed, put on her clothes and went out of the room with Xiao Qin. They went to the market of Wutan Town. At this moment, Wutan Town had restored the order of the past. Many of the sects that came to participate in the Demon Gate Conference had evacuated. Demonic cultivators with low cultivation could be seen on the streets. The materials that Xiao Qin needed to refine the flying sword weren't too special because the flying sword itself had already been refined. Xiao Qin only needed to refine it into something that he could use. He didn't need to refine it completely. This trip cost them tens of thousands of yuan, and even Xiao Qin found it unbelievably cheap. Yi Xiaoye, on the other hand, bought some materials to consolidate her cultivation, which were more expensive. She just casually bought a few kinds of herbs and they cost a few million yuan. You can get some seeds for these things. We can plant them ourselves when we go back. Xiao Qin said. That's true. We should save whenever we can. Yi Xiaoye nodded. But I just broke through the 3rd level of Demon Master not long ago, and you made me reach the peak last night. Although it's very cool, I have to consolidate it. Xiao Qin listened to Yi Xiaoye's words. Although he knew that she was talking about the peak of the 3rd level of Demon Master, he still felt a little awkward. Hey, what are you doing? Why are you looking at me strangely? Yi Xiaoye was a little uncomfortable. Chapter 780. It's nothing. Let's go back and continue our dual cultivation. Xiao Qin said. After buying things, he didn't plan to shop anymore. Still cultivating? No, I can't stand it. I'm leveling up too fast. Yi Xiaoye shook her head again and again. I haven't consolidated it yet. I'm afraid there will be problems in the future. Oh, actually, without the original environment, you won't be able to level up so fast. Yesterday you reached the peak of the 3rd layer because you were about to reach it. Xiao Qin said. Besides, the dual cultivation I mentioned was what we did yesterday. Humph. Yi Xiaoye was happy in her heart. She didn't show anything on the surface. In fact, she was very happy. Xiao Qin was infatuated with her, which proved that she was charming. After returning, Xiao Qin didn't really find Yi Xiaoye for dual cultivation in broad daylight. She was brewing medicine to consolidate her strength, and Xiao Qin was preparing to refine the flying sword. The two of them were busy until it was dark in the evening. Only then did they finish it. However, both of them were exhausted and fell asleep in each other's arms. The next morning, as Xiao Qin expected, there was a rush of knocking on the door. Are you done? You don't have a memory after being scolded yesterday. Xiao Qin said angrily. Hero Xiao Qin, sleeping early and getting up early is good for your health. We cultivators have to develop good habits. Smiling Mithriya laughed. Xiao Qin opened the door and saw Smiling Mithriya holding the box from yesterday. There was also a bag in his hand. Obviously it was filled with spirit jades. You brought it? That's pretty fast. Yeah, I'm exchanging things. Of course I have to be fast. How can I let others worry about me? Smiling Mithriya said very actively. Hee. Xiao Qin smiled and didn't say anything. He just took the spirit jades and the 10,000 crossing king fruit and looked at them. He threw them in the room and didn't bring them down. Then he said, Are you sure you won't regret it this time? I'm sure. Smiling Mithriya nodded. Then let's go. Xiao Qin led the way and Smiling Mithriya followed behind. They still came to the inn's backyard yesterday. Xiao Qin pulled out the flying sword and gave it to Smiling Mithriya. Look carefully. Is there any problem? I won't be responsible. Okay. The Smiling Mithriya carefully received it and examined it carefully. His intuition told him that this was the flying star sword from yesterday. However, he still said cautiously, Young hero Xiao Qin, I have examined it. There is no problem with it. However, can you please test it? Okay, but can you try it? Xiao Qin caught the flying sword and casually tossed it aside. He stepped onto it and the flying sword slowly flew up. After it circled around in the air, it landed and said, Have you seen it? Watch carefully. But can I stand on it and you help me fly it? Although the Smiling Mithriya felt that there should be no problem, he was still afraid that Xiao Qin might be hiding something like a small aircraft on him. Why are you so troublesome? If I'm not on it and you're the only one on it, you won't be able to control it well. You'll also waste your mental power. Xiao Qin said unwillingly. Look, hero Xiao Qin, please fulfill my wish. Otherwise, after I go back, I might not be able to figure it out. Why don't you let me enjoy it in advance? The Smiling Mithriya said with a smile. Okay. Xiao Qin walked to the side unhappily and gestured for Smiling Mithriya to go up. Smiling Mithriya hurriedly stood on the flying sword. Then he felt his body become light. He flew into the air. Hey? It's really flying? Smiling Maitreya was shocked and happy. He was sure that it was real. He was afraid that Xiao Chen would make a fake to trick him. Don't move. Xiao Chen warned loudly, but just as he finished speaking, the flying sword began to sway, and the smiling Maitreya fell head first to the ground with a thud. The flying sword also slapped the back of his head with a "pa" sound. Smiling Maitreya screamed. I told you not to move. I can't control it if you stand on the flying star divine sword. I'm not the one standing on it. Xiao Chen said angrily, I don't care. Go and study it yourself. Oh, it's okay. It's none of your business. Hero Xiao Chen, it's me who didn't grasp the balance. Smiling Maitreya was happy. As long as the flying star divine sword was real, everything would be fine. As for the other things, he didn't care about falling to his death. Then I'm leaving. You study it yourself. Xiao Chen was ready to turn around and leave. Have you seen it? Yes. Smiling Maitreya said quickly. Okay, goodbye. Xiao Chen left directly. The matter in Wutan town was over, and Xiao Chen had to go back to report. The purpose of destroying the Demon Gate Conference had been achieved. However, this time when Xiao Chen went back, he didn't plan to use Yang Jianan's identity anymore. He wanted to restore his original identity. Firstly, his contribution was enough to make up for the mistake of killing Yang Jianan. Secondly, and most importantly, he was now a cultivator at the peak of the 10th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Although his strength seemed to be at the first or second level of the Demon General, the higher the level of the cultivator, the greater the gap between him and a cultivator. Previously, there might only be a slight difference in strength, and the level system wasn't too obvious. For example, Xiao Chen was 3 and a cultivator was 2. Then Xiao Chen was 5, and a cultivator was 3. Xiao Chen was 7 and a cultivator was 4. This difference in magnitude wasn't very obvious at the beginning, but once it got to the later stage it would obviously become a lot bigger. This was also why the strength that Xiao Chen displayed was similar to that of a 6th level demon general. This kind of strength was probably the best in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Who would dare to do anything to Xiao Chen? Back in the room, Xiao Chen told Yi Xiaoya about his thoughts. Seeing that she was going to be separated from Xiao Chen again, Yi Xiaoya was a little reluctant. This was different from before. In the past, the two of them were just pure dual cultivation and had no other relationship. But now it was different. Yi Xiaoya really didn't want to be separated from Xiao Chen. Where are you going? How long will you be gone? Can you not go? I'm going to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. After that, I have to investigate my father's matter. I will come back to Songning to see you often, said Xiao Chen. Oh, then I will go back to the sect for a while. Yi Xiaoya sighed and said, with my current strength, the effect of staying in the secular world to cultivate is already very small. If you miss me, go to the Devil Star sect to find me. Okay, no problem. Xiao Chen nodded. Let's dual cultivate again? Yi Xiaoya looked at Xiao Chen. Her eyes were affectionate, blurred, and reluctant. Is it dual cultivation or something else? Xiao Chen couldn't help but smirk after listening. What do you think? Yi Xiaoya glared at Xiao Chen. There is no progress in cultivating now, idiot. That night, Xiao Chen and Yi Xiaoya said goodbye. Qi Xiangmei took her back to the Devil Star sect. Although Xiao Chen was a registered disciple of the Devil Star sect, it was a great thing for the Devil Star sect in any case. Qi Xiangmei went back to plan. Although the Quishan sect didn't want to recognize Xiao Chen as the leader of the Devil Star sect, no matter what, the leader had already been born. They couldn't deny it. Therefore, she must go back and use this matter to expand the influence of the sect. Xiao Chen didn't use the new flying sword. Firstly, the car was here. Secondly, he was afraid that someone would see it. Although he used another flying sword, it couldn't be seen clearly from afar. If the smiling Maitreya heard it, it would seem that he gave him a fake one. Even if it wasn't fake, it proved that he had a lot of such things. Then it would be worthless. As for the 10,000 Crossing King fruit, Yi Xiaoya didn't need it, so she didn't take it. Moreover, even if it was time to break through to the Devil King, not many people would choose to eat it. Song Billion came to Wutan town with the help of the Song family. However, he was only a spectator and wasn't qualified to go on stage to challenge. In a place like this where the members of the Devil Star sect were everywhere, he didn't have the chance to cause trouble even if he wanted to. Therefore, he left after Xiao Chen won. However, he was puzzled. How was Xiao Chen so powerful? How was this possible? This guy didn't seem so powerful when he pretended to be Yang Jianan. If he was this powerful earlier, he would have killed Yang Jianan and wouldn't have to go against him now. As Song Bilian left 2 days earlier, he arrived at the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. At the moment, Ling Tian was presiding over a meeting in the conference room. Deputy Bureau Chief Song, you mean that you tried your best, but there was no possibility of stopping it, right? Ling Tian nodded and asked after listening to Song Bilian's brief report. In fact, this was also within his expectations. Destroying something was easier said than done, but it was harder than ascending to the heavens. Yes, at least I went and tried to think of a way. However, some people probably went to have fun, right? I didn't even see them and I don't know where they went. The Devil Star conference is already over, but they didn't come back. Song Bilian said sinisterly. Song Bilian, what do you mean? Xia Zhili was furious. Hee, I believe everyone here can tell what I mean. Do I have to make it so obvious? Song Bilian looked at Xia Zhili mockingly. Speak clearly. Don't scold me indirectly. Xia Zhili slammed the table and scolded. All right, this is what you want me to say. Song Bilian sneered. We agreed to let Yang Jianan do this mission, but where is he? Where did he go? How do you know he didn't go? Xia Zhili asked. I went and I didn't see him. Doesn't that mean he didn't go? Song Bilian said matter-of-factly. T. That means Deputy Bureau Chief Yang didn't see you. Doesn't that mean you didn't go? Xia Zhili said angrily. He stared at Song Bilian with his eyes wide open. What kind of T logic is this? So, all of this is based on your imagination and guesses? I'd say you're blind. What did you say? You're the blind one. Song Bilian stood up and pointed at Xia Zhili. Let me tell you, Xia Zhili. There's a limit to how much you can protect Yang Jianan. Chapter 781. Alright, stop arguing. Ling Tian felt a headache coming on. These two subordinates were really strange, but he couldn't do anything to them. One was sent by the Song family, so he couldn't afford to offend them. The other was a veteran of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, so he couldn't say anything. He could only say, Deputy Bureau Chief Song, if you have evidence, show us. You know that we need evidence here. It's not like you can do whatever you want. The evidence is simple. Song Bilian decided to throw out a bomb. Do you know who obtained the title of Demon Sect Leader in the end? Why are you saying all this? Xia Zhili frowned. No matter who became the Demon Sect Leader, it wasn't a good thing. The Supernatural Investigation Bureau would definitely be pressured if they interfered in the future. The Demon Sect Leader is actually Xiao Chen. Aha, you guys are surprised, right? Song Bilian suddenly laughed out loud. What? Xiao Chen? Xia Zhili was stunned for a moment, then he was overjoyed. However, on the surface he said, Did you pee in your head? Doesn't Xiao Chen have a grudge against you? When he becomes the Demon Sect Leader, the first person he will kill is you, you fool. If he dares. Let's not talk about whether he can find this place. Even if he does, what can he do to me? Yang Jianan will kill him first. Song Bilian curled his lips and said, What I want to say is, the grudge between Xiao Chen and Yang Jianan is even bigger. With such a strong enemy in front of him, Yang Jianan didn't even let out a fart? Is that possible? Is it realistic? Even if he doesn't appear, he should at least send a message to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, right? Therefore, I can confirm that Xiao Chen didn't appear at the Demon Sect conference. Who says I can't find this place? An indifferent voice sounded. Then the door of the conference room was pushed open. Xiao Chen walked in arrogantly. Xia Zhili, did you pee in your head? I don't dare to do anything to you? Come get up. Let's see if I dare to do anything to you. You? Xiao Chen. Why are you here? Who let you in? How did you get in? Song Bilian was startled. He stood up from his chair with a whoosh, and looked at Xiao Chen with an incredulous expression. Why can't I come? Don't I always come here? Have you forgotten me so quickly? Xiao Chen walked into the conference room and sat down on the seat that belonged to Yang Jianan. He said calmly, Deputy Director Ling, I've completed the task I took before. Fortunately, I didn't fail my mission and successfully destroyed the Demon Gates event because I robbed the leader of the Demon Gate. The reason why Xiao Chen could come in was that he had transformed into Yang Jianan, so no one questioned him. He just returned to his original appearance at the door of the conference room. What? You? Ling Tian was also a little confused as he looked at Xiao Chen with a strange expression. Xia Zhili, on the other hand, was shocked. Although he knew that Xiao Chen was Yang Jianan, he was still shocked that Xiao Chen appeared in his original appearance. However, he didn't say anything. He didn't know what Xiao Chen was planning, so he decided to act according to the situation later. Haha, everyone doesn't recognize me? I'm Yang Jianan. Xiao Chen said calmly. Oh right, I forgot to introduce myself. Actually, the Yang Jianan from before has always been me. The real Yang Jianan was killed by me a long time ago. You. Ling Tian was a little shocked. He didn't think that Xiao Chen would dare to say it in front of everyone. Was he not afraid? Alright Xiao Chen, since you've admitted it, don't blame me for being impolite. Song Billion exploded on the spot and sent a palm towards Xiao Chen. He wanted to make use of this opportunity to get rid of Xiao Chen. Furthermore, no one would say anything about it. Since Xiao Chen admitted to killing Yang Jianan, then he would be taking revenge for Yang Jianan. Regardless of whether the Yang Jianan from before was Xiao Chen or not, as long as he got rid of Xiao Chen now, Xia Zhili would be alone in the future. At that time, how would Xia Zhili be able to go against him? From Xia Zhili's silent attitude, he could tell that Xia Zhili probably already knew about this matter. At first, he was still wondering why Yang Jianan and Xia Zhili had a falling out and suddenly reconciled. So it turned out that Xiao Chen had replaced Yang Jianan. No wonder. As for Xiao Chen's true strength, Song Billion wasn't clear. He didn't go to watch the Devil Gate Grand Meeting. After watching the first day of the competition, he knew that it was impossible to destroy it, so he went back to the inn to sleep. After that, he heard that Xiao Chen won the championship with Devil Star Sect's Xiao Chen. Although he was shocked that Xiao Chen's strength was so high, now that he knew that Xiao Chen was the previous Yang Jianan, he was more confident in his heart. Wasn't Yang Jianan just at the first level of Devil General? Then he was still confident that he could catch him off guard and get rid of him. Thinking of this, Song Billion suddenly made a move. Pa! Xiao Chen slapped Song Billion's face, directly sending him flying. He crashed heavily into the wall behind the conference room, smashing a big hole in the wall. And Xiao Chen's strength, which was equivalent to the 6th level of Devil General, was completely revealed at this moment. 6th level Devil General. Song Billion spat out a mouthful of blood. After a long time, he finally said these 4 words in a panic. Xia Zhili was also shocked. He hadn't seen Xiao Chen for a short month. How did Xiao Chen suddenly become a 6th level Devil General? What was going on? He remembered that Xiao Chen's strength was inferior to Yang Jianan's. Previously, his 1st level Devil General strength was only obtained by borrowing Yang Jianan's fame. Now that Xiao Chen revealed such a move, even he was shocked. Of course, the one who was the most shocked was Ling Tian. Originally, he was thinking about how to punish Xiao Chen. But now, he was thinking about how to appease Xiao Chen and let Xiao Chen stay in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. 6th level Devil General, the identity of Devil Star Sect's disciple, and most importantly, the identity of the Devil Sect's sect leader. These made Ling Tian have no choice but to be cautious. He couldn't use normal rules to restrict Xiao Chen. Do you think I dare to touch you? Xiao Chen stood up and walked towards Song Billion with a smile that wasn't a smile. Old thing, you still dare to sneak and attack? You're pretty strong, huh? Come, sneak and attack on me again? How is this possible? Yang Jianan was clearly a 1st level Devil General previously. Song Billion roared in disbelief. Are you stupid? He's a 1st level Devil General, but I can kill him. What level do you think I am? Do you have any logic in your head? Xiao Chen looked at Song Billion with a smile. I think I'll kill you today. Otherwise, with your intelligence, there's no point in living anymore. Song Billion felt sullen, but there was nothing he could do. He didn't even dare to argue with Xiao Chen. He was afraid that if Xiao Chen was unhappy, he would kill him. In this conference room, no one could stop Xiao Chen. Not even Ling Tian. Cough cough. But Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao, don't be rash. We're in the middle of a meeting. Let's put aside our internal conflicts for now. Ling Tian thought for a while and slowly spoke up. Since he called Xiao Chen Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao and not Deputy Bureau Chief Yang, it meant that as the Executive Deputy Bureau Chief, he had set the tone for this matter. He had acknowledged Xiao Chen's legal status as the Deputy Bureau Chief. Although there was a possibility that the higher-ups would blame him after this, he had already made a promise. This matter was basically a foregone conclusion. Furthermore, during this period of time, Ling Tian had already received hints from the higher-ups. He knew why the higher-ups wanted him to delay his retirement. It wasn't entirely because of the Devil Sect conference, nor was it to obstruct Xia Zhili's promotion. The real reason, he would explain it later during the meeting. Oh. Xiao Chen pondered for a moment and looked at Ling Tian with a strange expression. He left his back to Song Billion, but no matter how stupid Song Billion was, he wouldn't dare to launch a sneak attack. The difference between him and Xiao Chen wasn't on the same level. If he dared to make a move, he believed that Xiao Chen would be able to kill him in a matter of seconds. Since we've already ruined the Devil Sect conference, this is a good thing. Let's hurry up and discuss what to do next. Ling Tian said, Deputy Bureau Chief Song, I hope that you can conduct yourself with dignity. Don't speak recklessly. Yes. Song Billion climbed up gloomily. He knew that he had managed to escape a calamity. If Ling Tian didn't directly acknowledge Xiao Chen's status as the Deputy Bureau Chief, that Xiao Chen might have really exploded and killed him. Now that Xiao Chen had a status, he couldn't casually harm his colleagues. Even if he was not willing to let Xiao Chen take the position rightfully, he knew that his words were like a fart. No one would listen to him at all. If he did not handle it well, Xiao Chen's life would be in danger. Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao, does this mean that you're the leader of the Devil Sect now? What plans does the Devil Sect have in the future? Ling Tian looked at Xiao Chen and went straight to the main topic. It was as if nothing had happened. Because my appearance was rather sudden, the Devil Sect's original leader was Ma Qingting from the Kueishan sect. However, I injured her and forced her to step down. They had no choice but to acknowledge me. Xiao Chen said, I'm afraid that it's only in name now. However, this way it's impossible for the Devil Sect to form an alliance. I see. However, this is already not bad. I didn't think that it would actually work. Ling Tian nodded and said, all right, this matter has come to an end. In the future, Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao will be in charge of contacting and handling the matters of the Devil Sect. The matters of the Devil Sect had always been handled by Song Billion, the Deputy Bureau Chief. Now it was handed over to Xiao Chen. What did this mean? Could it be that Ling Tian was willing to do this? Or was it because he had no other choice? Or was it to pave the way for Xia Zhili's promotion? Was he handing over a portion of the authority to Xia Zhili's people and gradually supporting Xia Zhili? Alright, no problem. Xiao Chen nodded and didn't reject. After all, he was still the leader of the Devil Sect in name. It was better for him to be in charge than someone else. Chapter 782. Next, I want to talk about something more important. Ling Tian said, everyone here knows that other than Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao, everyone here is an old member of the Supernatural Investigation Department. The old bureau chief was injured in the past, and because of his old age, his injuries have flared up again. He has been unable to manage the affairs of the department normally. Recently, his injuries have worsened, so the higher-ups have decided that I will temporarily take over the position of the bureau chief. As for the position of Deputy Bureau Chief, initially I wanted to let Deputy Bureau Chief Xia Zhili take over, but now Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao is obviously stronger than Deputy Bureau Chief Xia. In actuality, Ling Tian's words were partly to break up the relationship between Xiao Chen and Xia Zhili. If they were too close, it would be detrimental to his future management. Previously, Xiao Chen might have had to work with Xia Zhili because of his identity, but now that his identity had been made public, there was no need for him to continue working with Xia Zhili. Thus he decided to promote Xiao Chen. This way, with Xia Zhili and Song Billion holding him back, it wouldn't cause any trouble for him. Previously, when he handed over the matters of the demon sect to Xiao Chen, it was just that at that time no one had thought it through. However, now both Xia Zhili and Song Billion understood. What do you all think? After Ling Tian finished speaking, he asked with a smile. I agree. Song Billion was the first to jump out and express his support. Whether it was to repair his relationship with Xiao Chen or to deal with Xia Zhili, he would always be the first to express his support. I abstain. Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang would always abstain. After all, this didn't have much to do with him, so there was no need to offend him. Also agree. Xia Zhili hesitated for a moment. His expression was a little complicated, but he still nodded his head in agreement. He looked at Xiao Chen and thought about the things that Xiao Chen had helped him find. He felt that he shouldn't hold up Xiao Chen because of his desire for power. Xia Zhili's reply surprised both Song Billion and Ling Tian. Why did Xia Zhili agree? Xiao Chen was not surprised by Song Billion's approval. Regardless of whether he wanted to attack Xia Zhili or express goodwill to Xiao Chen, it was understandable. However, Xia Zhili's answer was a little strange. Xiao Chen glanced at Xia Zhili and saw that the other party nodded at him. Xiao Chen was touched. It seemed that Xia Zhili was truly grateful to him, and it wasn't just because of benefits. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen slowly said, Deputy Bureau Chief Ling, or should I say Bureau Chief Ling, I think it's better to let Deputy Bureau Chief Xia Zhili be the Executive Deputy Bureau Chief. Oh. Ling Tian was slightly taken aback, his eyes narrowing as he looked at Xiao Qin curiously. What do you mean? First of all, I don't have much time to work here. I still have my own things to do. I have to go to school, pick up girls, find my dad, and so on. Anyway, I'm quite busy. I definitely can't put all my energy here. Xiao Qin smiled. Also, I don't like to be tied down, nor do I want to manage so many things. However, I will definitely support Deputy Bureau Chief Xia in his work. Probably only Xiao Qin would dare to speak to Ling Tian like this. He actually dared to say that he wanted to pick up girls. However, with Xiao Qin's current strength, he did indeed have the qualifications to say such things. Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao, have you thought about it? Ling Tian could already tell that Xiao Qin was not trying to reject him. Giving so many reasons, it was obvious that he wanted to reject him. I thought about it. Xiao Qin nodded. I'm actually really not suitable. Alright, since that's the case, I won't force you. Ling Tian nodded. He didn't dare to blame Xiao Qin for this matter because the Supernatural Investigation Department still needed to rely on Xiao Qin in the future. How could he offend Xiao Qin over such a small matter? And what do you think of Deputy Bureau Chief Xia? Xiao Qin asked. Originally, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia was the candidate. However, after seeing your strength and achievements today, I made this decision on the spot. I hope you don't mind. Ling Tian smiled. Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao, I hope that you can contribute to the Supernatural Investigation Department in the future. Your strength is enough to make us proud. I won't restrict you as long as there's a mission that you can help us with. That's what I should do. Xiao Qin said seriously. Actually, this isn't for the Supernatural Investigation Department. It's because Deputy Bureau Chief Xia helped me in the past. So, as long as Deputy Bureau Chief Xia is here, I will also stay here to help. Although saying this might seem like I'm not putting you in my eyes, what I said is the truth. Ah, it's nothing. I'm not that petty. Ling Tian laughed. With Xiao Qin's strength, nothing could be said. Xia Zhili's eyes became a little wet. He didn't think that Xiao Qin would say such a thing. He immediately felt a little ashamed of his previous hesitation. Although he had agreed to Ling Tian's suggestion for Xiao Qin to be the Deputy Bureau Chief, he didn't feel very comfortable in his heart. At this moment, he knew that he had gauged the heart of a gentleman with his own mean measure. Xiao Qin wasn't an ungrateful person. He was different from that traitor Yang Jianan. Xiao Qin was loyal and righteous. Just based on those simple words from Xiao Qin, he, Xia Zhili, was able to secure his position as the Deputy Bureau Chief. With the support of a sixth-layer demon general who would dare to oppose him. Especially someone like Xiao Qin who didn't follow the rules. Didn't he see how Song Billion was sent flying by Xiao Qin? Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao, don't worry. If there's anything in the future, we'll discuss it. Xia Zhili hurriedly said. If there's anything else, then I'll be annoyed to death. If you have a problem that you can't solve, then look for me. If it's a small matter, you know? Xiao Qin laughed. Ah, okay, then I won't act pretentious. Bureau Chief Ling, don't worry, I'll do my best. Xia Zhili said. Okay, then this matter is settled. I'll report to the higher-ups after the meeting. Ling Tian nodded and ended the meeting. Song Billion walked out of the meeting room with a gloomy face. Xia Zhili and Xiao Qin, on the other hand, were chatting happily. The two of them walked to the office before Xia Zhili said, You came in like this today and gave me a fright. I didn't expect your strength to be so terrifying. Xiao Qin was instantly amused. It's not that exaggerated. I'm just a sixth-layer demon general. There's nothing in the outside world. That's right. You've already set your sights on the outer world. Xia Zhili sighed. But it's fine now. Your identity has been exposed, so you don't have to go through the trouble of hiding it anymore. With your current strength, the previous problem is no longer a problem. Ling Tian really has a good plan. Roping you in, the overall strength of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau will definitely increase a lot in the future. Hee, didn't I say it already? It's for you, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia. Xiao Qin laughed. Xiao Qin, I really didn't expect you to give me so much face. I, Xia Zhili, have no regrets in this life to have a good friend like you. Xia Zhili sighed. Xiao Qin, you're a good person. In the future, help me take care of Xia Shibin. He can be considered to be the heir of my Xia family. Although our relationship isn't as close as ours, he's still my godson. I'll take care of him. Xiao Qin nodded. And where are you going next? Xia Zhili asked. I plan to go back to Songning and take a look at my home. Then I'll leave for the outside world. With the identity of the demon sect's leader and name, it'll be much easier to investigate some things. I want to investigate my father's matter. Xiao Qin said. Okay, then go. I'll look for you if there's anything here. Xia Zhili said. If you encounter anything in the outside world, you can look for Vice President Yen to coordinate. He and I are old friends. You know that too. Okay, I'll remember. Xiao Qin replied. Outside world, Quishan sect. Ma Qingting lay on the bed. He had only just recovered from his injuries today. He was infuriated and wanted nothing more than to kill Xiao Qin. He was supposed to be the sect leader of the demon sect, but in the end all his efforts were in vain. Father, I can't accept this. Seeing Ma Qingting walk in, Ma Qingting clenched his fist and said loudly. Sigh. Ma Qingting had been worried for the past few days. He didn't dare to inform his backer about the results of the demon sect's conference, but he knew that this kind of thing couldn't be hidden. The news would eventually spread. As expected, just as he came to check on Ma Qingting's injuries, his phone rang. He looked at the caller ID and his heart skipped a beat. Elder Yen, hello. I'm Ma Qingting. Ma Qingting braced himself and picked up the phone. Sect leader Ma, what are you doing? Why didn't you tell me about such a big thing? Are you waiting for the news to reach me through the grapevine? On the other side of the phone, Elder Yan's voice was filled with indescribable anger. I'm trying to solve this problem. I'll report it to Elder Yan after I'm done. Ma Qingting could only say carefully. Solve? Solve my A****. Xiao Qin became the demon sect's leader under the watchful eyes of the public. Can you still solve it? Elder Yan was instantly enraged. Tell me, are you going to remove Xiao Qin from the position of sect leader and re-elect him? Of course not. Ma Qingting stammered and couldn't say anything. Humph, you mean you've been trying to solve it for so long but you still can't do anything, right? Elder Yen snorted coldly. Ma Qingting almost knelt down in fear. He quickly apologized. I'm sorry, please forgive me, Elder Yen. I didn't do it well. Do you know that you've held me up? Elder Yen asked coldly. I know, Elder Yen has always wanted to unify the demon sect in the outer martial arts world. You want to control it through our hands. During the re-election next year, we'll definitely achieve our goal. Ma Qingting quickly promised. Chapter 783. That's just what you think. Don't spread it. Elder Yen warned, since Xiao Qin has become the leader of the devil sect, don't think about destroying it. I'll give you the next task. Please say it, Elder Yen. Ma Peiqie knew that Elder Yen would not blame him for what happened before, so he quickly asked seriously. Think of a way to boost Xiao Qin's reputation. Make him the sect master of the outer pugilistic world's demon sect, known to everyone. It's best if you can use his name to hold a group gathering at the airport, then hold a concubine selection. Elder Yen instructed. Ma Peiqie was stunned. Why? Why, Leader Ma, do you want to know the secrets of the higher-ups? Just do what I tell you to do. Why do you have so many questions? Elder Yan's tone changed immediately and he warned coldly. Yes. Ma Peiqie's forehead was sweating and he asked carefully, are we really going to serve that Xiao Qin as the leader? At least in the eyes of outsiders, we must make this leader look glorious. As for whether you listen to him or not, it's up to you. I only care about the results and nothing else. Elder Yen said. I understand. Ma Peiqie was immediately relieved. He thought that Elder Yen did not want the position of the leader of the devil sect to be in name only. Since it was the first time, it had to be effective. That was why he asked them to help promote Xiao Qin. As for whether Xiao Qin would really be in power, there was no requirement. This way the Quishan sect could still do something. Thinking of this, Ma Peiqie was relieved. He thought that he had guessed Elder Yan's intention, so he was relieved. I won't say more. I hope you can make up for your mistakes. Elder Yen urged. Don't worry, Elder Yen. I know what to do. Ma Peiqie said and ended the call. Father, what's going on? Is our backer dissatisfied? Ma Qingting knew some inside information but not much. She saw that Ma Peiqie's expression changed several times when he answered the phone, so she asked worriedly. It's nothing. He just wants us to help promote Xiao Qin, the leader of the devil sect, in name only. Ma Peiqie sighed. What? Do you still want to boost Xiao Qin's popularity? Make him live up to his name? Is this for real? Did Elder Yen take the wrong medicine? Ma Qingting was a little surprised after hearing this. This is Elder Yan's request. Ma Qingqiu said helplessly, but I'm just guessing. Maybe it's because this is the first outer pugilistic world demonic sect Grand Assembly, and Xiao Qin is the first faction leader. If he doesn't establish his power and reputation, even if you become the next faction leader, you won't have the power and deterrence. That's true, but I can't accept it. Ma Dragonfly clenched her fists. Father, this is all caused by Xiao Qin and we still have to support him. Why should we? Don't worry about that. Although it's to build momentum for him, it's only to make him look better in name. The real control will be in the hands of the organizing committee of the Devil Sect Grand Meeting, which is the Kuei Mountain Sect, the organizer. Ma Wuzhu explained. That's more like it. We can't let Xiao Qin master his strength. Alright, I can't wait anymore. Can we kill Xiao Qin and change the election in advance? Ma Dragonfly asked. That's not possible for now. Ma Wuzhu quickly shook his head. Don't complicate things. Elder Yin is already dissatisfied with us. If we do something else, he will definitely blame us. Sai, that's the only way. I'm not willing to let Xiao Qin have it easy. Ma Qinxiu's face was ferocious. We can attack him in other ways, but we can't kill Xiao Qin. Ma Qinxiu said, Alright, rest well. I'll go and arrange this matter. Okay, father. Ma Wuzhu's eyes lit up. After Ma Dragonfly left, he immediately shouted outside, Someone come. Young sect master, are you looking for me? A disciple walked in quickly. His name was Ma Jia and he was Ma Qinxiu's confidant. Ma Jia, you came at the right time. Investigate everything about Xiao Qin. Immediately, I want to see his information. Ma Qinxiu ordered. Yes. Ma Jia responded and didn't dare to ask why. Of course, he also knew that the young sect master suffered in the hands of Xiao Qin, so he quickly went to investigate. The Kuei Mountain sect had already collected information about Xiao Qin after he became the Devil Sect master. Ma Jia only needed to go and get it, so it didn't take long for him to return and hand the information to Ma Qinxiu. So fast? Ma Qinxiu was a little surprised by Ma Jia's efficiency. He opened the document and read it. After seeing Xiao Qin's background, he was a little surprised. He didn't know as much about Xiao Qin as Ma Qinxiu, and he didn't care about Yao Boang's matter. So when he saw that he had a grudge with Yao Baoang, and that Xiao Qin's fiancée was in the Kuei Mountain sect, he was shocked. He said to Ma Jia, Xiao Qin's fiancée is in the Kuei Mountain sect? That's great. Bring me to see. I can't humiliate Xiao Qin first, so I'll humiliate his fiancée first. Ah, that's not good. This Cheng Minjing is also Yao Boang's fiancée now. Ma Jia said carefully. What about Yao Baoang? He's just an ordinary disciple. What? Do I need to care about his feelings? Ma Qinxiu was furious. No, of course not. Ma Jia was shocked and quickly said. Let's go. Bring me there. Ma Qinxiu sat up on the bed. Ma Jia had no choice but to bring Ma Qinxiu to the courtyard of the Cheng family. The Cheng family was currently living there. Seeing two unfamiliar young people walk in, Cheng Tianqiu, who was planting flowers at the side, was a little confused. You are, old thing Cheng Menjing is here, right? Where is her room? Ma Qinxiu pointed at Cheng Tianqiu and asked arrogantly. You. Cheng Tianqiu was furious. He didn't expect this person to be so rude. I don't know. You're not welcome here. How dare you? This is the young master of the Kuei Mountain sect, Ma Qinxiu. You old fart, answer me honestly. Ma Jia jumped out and pointed at Cheng Tianqiu. At this moment, Cheng Zhongfan, who knew that Ma Lianting had arrived, immediately ran over. When he saw the conversation between Ma Lianting and Cheng Tianqiu, he immediately understood the gist of the situation. He hurriedly said, Young sect master, ignore him. This old thing's brain isn't working well. Just find me if you need anything. And bring me to Cheng Menjing. Ma Qinxiu nodded. Although she didn't know Cheng Zhongfan, she saw that he was dressed like a disciple of the Kuei Mountain sect, so she instructed. Yes, this way please. Cheng Zhongfan quickly made an inviting gesture and invited Ma Qinxiu and Ma Jia into the courtyard. They walked towards Cheng Menjing's room. Cheng Zhongfan, you. Cheng Tianqiu let out a long sigh. He knew that he had to lower his head when he was under someone else's roof, but he didn't expect Cheng Zhongfan to be so shameless. If he knew this would happen, he would have kicked him out of the family. But it was all too late. He shouldn't have been so headstrong and self-opinionated. He shouldn't have listened to Cheng Zhongfan. As a result, the Cheng family had become like this. The number one family in Songning had become dependent on someone else and treated like a prisoner. Young master, that is Cheng Menjing. Cheng Zhongfan pointed at Cheng Menjing in the room and said, Oh. Ma Qingxiu responded. She kicked the door open and walked in. Who? Qing Menjing was shocked. She was cultivating when she heard a loud noise behind her. She quickly turned around and asked, "Yo." Ma Qingxiu originally wanted to scold Qing Menjing, but when he saw Qing Menjing's appearance, he was stunned. There was actually such a beauty? This kind of person was rare even in the outside world of martial arts, and there was one in his own sect? Although Ma Qingxiu wasn't a lecherous person, a gentleman wanted a graceful lady. He wasn't married yet. When he saw the beauty Qing Menjing, he couldn't take his eyes off her, and his lower body began to stir. Ma Jia had followed Ma Qingxiu since he was a child. He immediately saw through the young master's thoughts, so he coughed and said to Qing Menjing, "You are Yao Boang's fiancé, right? Do you know who this person in front of you is?" Qing Menjing frowned. Since these two dared to barge in and Qing Zhongfan was standing outside, they must be from the Kuei Mountain sect, and their status was definitely not low. However, she didn't want to know them, so she said plainly, "I'm not Yao Boang's fiancé. Do you have any business with me? If not, please leave. Don't disturb my cultivation. This is our Kuei Mountain sect's young master, Ma Qingxiu." Ma Jia pointed at Ma Qingxiu and said, "Our young master is interested in you. If you want your Qing family to have a good life in the Kuei Mountain sect, you can break off your engagement with Yao Baoang and find our young master." Qing Menjing was taken aback, but she also understood that Ma Qingxiu was probably interested in her. She didn't expect her to be so shameless as to directly ask for her. Didn't she care about the feelings of the Kuei Mountain sect disciples? "I'm sorry, I'm cultivating the Kuei Mountain sect's special mental cultivation method. I must maintain my virginity, so I don't need your suggestions. Please leave and don't disturb my cultivation," Qing Menjing said plainly. She didn't want to talk nonsense, so she directly pointed out the special nature of her mental cultivation method. She wanted Ma Qingxiu to back off. Really? Ma Qingxiu was taken aback. Previously, the information was mainly about Xiao Chen. Qing Menjing's matter was only briefly mentioned and not written in detail. Now that she heard Qing Menjing's words, she didn't quite believe it. This. Ma Jia wasn't sure either. This seems to be true. At this time, Qing Zhongfan spoke. Ma Qingxiu frowned. Although he was determined to get her, since Qing Menjing said so, he couldn't force her. It would affect his prestige as the young master, so he said, "Okay, then let's go back first. We'll talk after we investigate." Chapter 784. With that, Ma Dragonfly turned around and strode away. As for the thought of humiliating Qing Menjing, he had long thrown it to the back of his mind. What he wanted the most now was to get Qing Menjing. However, this way he would also achieve the goal of humiliating Xiao Chen. If he got Xiao Chen's fiancée, wouldn't Xiao Chen die of shame? Ma Jia and Qing Zhongfan didn't dare to say anything else. They quickly followed Ma Dragonfly out of the Qing family's courtyard. Qing Tianqiu looked at them and sighed. When did the Qing family decline to this state? All of this was caused by himself. Qing Tianqiu was filled with regret. However, they were also ill-informed here. They didn't know that Xiao Chen had become the sect master of the outer martial arts demonic sect. Of course, even if they knew, they wouldn't think that Xiao Chen could solve them. After all, a person like Xiao Chen was already a thorn in the side of the Quishan sect. He couldn't even protect himself. How could he save them? It was simply unrealistic. Ma Dragonfly returned to his room, then looked at Qing Zhongfan and said, "Tell me, what exactly did Qing Menjing cultivate? And she's actually a virgin? Isn't she Xiao Chen's fiancée? Haven't they slept together before?" "I don't think so." Qing Zhongfan shook his head. Previously, Qing Menjing always hated Xiao Chen. Later, I don't know why, but her impression seems to have changed a little. Perhaps it's to fulfill the agreement between the father's generation. Anyway, Qing Menjing should still be a virgin. And that's not bad. I hate used shoes the most. Ma Dragonfly's heart skipped a beat. Qing Menjing was so beautiful. It would be a pity if she was discarded after one time. However, it wouldn't be nice to say that he, the young sect master of the Quishan sect, spent all his time with a second-hand trash. Now there was no problem. Since Qing Menjing was the original, there was no harm in keeping her by his side. Young sect master, Qing Menjing's main problem now isn't this. It's her and Yao Baoang. Qing Zhongfan reminded. Humph, what's the matter? Yao Baoang wants to snatch the woman that I've taken a fancy to? Ma Qingting glared at Qing Zhongfan unhappily. Is it me or Yao Baoang who has the final say in the Kuei Mountain sect? Of course, it's up to you, young sect master. Cheng Zhongfan secretly cursed himself for being a busybody. If Ma Dragonfly liked Cheng Menjing, he could punish Xiaoqian even more. Vice President Nian might be a deterrent to the small fries of the Quishan sect, but she wouldn't be so restrictive to the young sect master. It wouldn't be a problem for them to consummate their marriage on the same day. Get Yao Baoang here. I have something to ask him. Ma Dragonfly waved his hand and gestured for Cheng Zhongfan to look for him. Yes. Cheng Zhongfan quickly responded and ran to find Yao Baoang. After Cheng Zhongfan left, Ma Jia reminded him in a low voice, "Young sect master, although your words carry enormous weight in the Quishan sect, shouldn't you inform the sect master about this? After all, it's a family matter of the Quishan sect's disciples." "I know. Didn't you see that I didn't make a move and asked Yao Baoang to come and talk?" Although Ma Dragonfly was domineering, he wasn't a fool. He wouldn't do such a thing. Even if he wanted to do it, he had to find a good reason and excuse so that others wouldn't laugh at him behind his back. "That's good." Ma Jia heaved a sigh of relief and waited quietly with Ma Dragonfly for Yao Baoang's arrival. Not long after, Yao Baoang arrived with Cheng Zhongfan. The two of them entered the room one after another. Disciple Yao Baoang greets young sect master. Yao Baoang bowed respectfully. "Young sect master, Yao Baoang is here," Cheng Zhongfan said. "You may leave first. There's nothing for you to do here." Ma Dragonfly didn't want Cheng Zhongfan to hear what he was going to say next. He was prepared to use threats and promises. "Yes." Cheng Zhongfan didn't dare to say more and quickly retreated. When only Yao Baoang was left in the room, Ma Dragonfly said, "Yao Baoang, I heard that your father was also a disciple of the Quishan sect, but he was assassinated?" "That's right. He was killed by Xiaoqian and his men. This enmity is absolutely irreconcilable." Yao Baoang didn't know why Ma Dragonfly was looking for him. When he heard this, he thought it was to help him take revenge. The sect will compensate your father for the sacrifice he made for the sect," Ma Dragonfly said faintly, "so I plan to recommend you to Elder Li and let him accept you as his personal disciple." Yao Baoang's eyes widened and looked at Ma Dragonfly in disbelief. He didn't believe that such a good thing as a pie falling from the sky would happen to him. Wasn't this too unbelievable? However, after being stunned for a while, he quickly "Thank you for your guidance, young sect leader. Disciple Yao Baoang is very grateful. In the future, if young sect leader has any errands for me, I will not hesitate to go through fire and water." Yao Baoang was very clear that if he could be accepted as a personal disciple by Elder Li, then his current status would be completely different. In the sect, he could only be said to be an ordinary inner disciple. In the past, when his father was still around, he could be considered to be doing well. Now that little Yao was dead, he was finished. Even the cultivation resources were not as much as before. At this time, Ma Dragonfly was telling him that he could be a personal disciple. It was like a pie falling from the sky. You don't have to go through fire and water in the future. Now there is something that I need your help with." Ma Dragonfly was very satisfied with Yao Baoang's fanatical attitude and said faintly. Yao Baoang was slightly stunned. He didn't expect Ma Dragonfly to ask him about something so quickly. However, he still asked, "What does young sect leader want me to do? I heard that Cheng Menjing is Xiaoqian's fiancée?" Ma Dragonfly asked faintly. "Yes, but she is now my..." Yao Baoang was a little puzzled, but he still nodded and prepared to explain. However, before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Ma Dragonfly. You also know that my position as the demon sect leader was stolen by Xiaoqian. Now, I hate him to the core, so I plan to take Cheng Menjing as a concubine to achieve the goal of humiliating Xiaoqian," Ma Dragonfly said. "Ah?" Yao Baoang was a little dumbfounded. He didn't expect that Ma Dragonfly actually took a fancy to Cheng Menjing, and this should be the small favor she wanted him to help. However, even though he was very happy to be able to become Elder Li's disciple, he was still a little unwilling to sacrifice Cheng Menjing. Although lust was a knife above the head, Cheng Menjing was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. These days he was a little infatuated with her. He was not willing to give up just like that. Even if the other party was the young sect leader, he was not willing. This was his fiancée. If he took her away, wouldn't he regret it in the future? However, he didn't want to lose the opportunity to be a disciple of Elder Li. Once he became Elder Li's personal disciple, his future would be limitless. At that time, it might not be impossible for him to become a core disciple of the sect. Yao Baoang was in a dilemma. After thinking for a moment, he had an idea and said, "Young sect leader, the current situation is not up to me. This matter is not something that the other party will agree to if I say I give up on Cheng Menjing." "What? Does she insist that you won't marry her?" Ma Qingting raised her eyebrows and asked unhappily. "That's not it. She doesn't want to marry me at all. She only has Xiao Chen in her heart, so she is afraid that I will touch her. Now, she is cultivating a mental cultivation method of our Quishan sect that only first ladies can cultivate. It's called the Weaving Girl Heart Sutra. I didn't believe it at the time, but after carefully checking the relevant information of the sect, I found out that this mental cultivation method does exist." Yao Baoang had no choice but to use this tactful method to dispel Ma Qingting's thoughts. After a long time, he reckoned that Ma Qingting would forget about this matter. What Weaving Girl Heart Sutra? Ma Qingting was stunned. So what if she cultivates it or not? At most, she won't cultivate it. That won't do. Women who cultivate this mental cultivation method can't have intercourse with others. Otherwise, once forced, the demonic energy will flow backward and enter the other party's body. The other party will explode and die. Yao Baoang said with a bitter face. He wasn't lying, but he was speaking the truth. These things could be checked. When the time came, Ma Qingting just needed to check. "Oh, there's such a thing? Can't I wear a condom?" Ma Qingting frowned. "Wouldn't that serve as a barrier?" "Young master, how can a condom withstand the backflow of demonic energy? It would have exploded long ago. Otherwise, do you think I didn't have the thought of forcing myself? But I can only endure it." Yao Baoang sighed. "Why is it so troublesome? Can't I find someone to destroy Cheng Menjing's cultivation?" Ma Qingting also knew that Yao Baoang didn't dare to lie to her, so she asked after thinking about it. "This shouldn't be possible. You may not know, but when Vice President Yen of the Outer Martial Arts Guild came forward to mediate this matter, she gave Xiao Chen 3 years to find evidence. If Xiao Chen produced evidence in 3 years, then Cheng Menjing would have to leave the Quishan sect. So I can't go too far. I can do it secretly, but if I make a big move, I will offend the Outer Martial Arts Guild." Yao Baoang said. "Tell me in detail what happened." The previous information didn't mention this in detail, so Ma Qingting didn't know. "It's like this." Yao Baoang explained the situation at the time. After Ma Qingting heard it, he was a little unwilling, but he could only give up for the time being. He didn't expect a woman to be so complicated. It was a critical period now. He didn't become the Demon Gate Master, so it wasn't good to openly oppose the Outer Martial Arts Guild. Although he wasn't afraid of them, there was no need to offend them because of a woman. Thinking of this, Ma Qingting said, "Okay, I got it, but I will think of a way. You report to Elderly in a while. Ma Cha, you bring him over. Tell Elderly that I arranged it." Chapter 785. Yes, thank you, young sect master. Yao Baoang knew that although his words had a certain effect, Ma Qingting had not given up. However, he could only stop her to this extent. If he continued to stop her, not only would Ma Qingting not allow him to become Elder Li's disciple, but she would also find an opportunity to drive him out of the Quishan sect. Ma Qingting waited for Yao Baoang to leave before she began to pace around the room. She accidentally touched the wound on her body and immediately hissed in pain. "Cheng Menjing, you will be mine sooner or later," he thought to himself. Xiao Chen returned to Songning City in a low-key manner. He did not return to the Xiao family, but to the villa where he lived previously. However, it had become deserted. Standing in the courtyard, Xiao Chen seemed to be in a trance. He felt that Missy and Jean Bebe were in the living room while Yi Xiaoya was upstairs. A barking sound was heard. Xiao Chen looked down and saw that it was Invincible Dog. Ignoring him, Xiao Chen walked directly into the villa. However, after taking 2 steps, his eyes suddenly fell on the flower bed where Yi Xiaoya had planted the medicinal herbs. "What the F***ck, what kind of dog are you? Why are you eating these raw medicinal herbs? Aren't you afraid of getting a stomachache?" Xiao Chen looked at the various medicinal herbs that had been gnawed off and was speechless. It seemed that he and Yi Xiaoya had been away for a long time, so Invincible Dog had eaten all the medicinal dregs and potions. This guy had nothing else to eat and started to eat the fresh medicinal herbs in the courtyard. This time, Xiao Chen came back mainly to take the all-crossing golden pill fruit from the drawer. At that time, in the medicinal herb garden behind the resort, Xiao Chen vaguely remembered that the Elder Heaven ancestor had let him take 2 all-crossing golden pill fruits. At that time, Xiao Chen did not know what it was, so he took it back. However, after exchanging with the smiling Mithriya, he suddenly remembered that he seemed to have collected this thing before. However, on the way back he asked the Elder Heaven Ancestor about it. The Elder Heaven Ancestor couldn't remember it either. At that time he had asked him to carry too many things. After giving him instructions and grabbing them, he had put them away when he returned. So, Xiaoqin wanted to confirm whether or not the item really existed. Looking at the bare flower bed, Xiaoqin shook his head. He really wanted to beat this broken dog up. Previously, in order to plant medicinal herbs for Yi Xiaoye in winter, Xiaoqin had spent a lot of effort, but in the end, all of it went into the dog's stomach. Back in his room, Xiaoqin opened the drawer and began to rummage through the medicinal herbs he had brought back from the herb garden, but the drawer was empty. Did I remember wrongly? You didn't put it here? Xiaoqin closed the drawer and began to search in the cabinets and boxes, but he still found nothing. There was no other way. Xiaoqin could only open the drawer again, but he found some clues in the gap of the drawer. There was also some soil on the medicinal herbs, which proved that Xiaoqin should have placed the medicinal herbs here, but where were the medicinal herbs? Could it be that Yi Xiaoye took it away? No. Xiaoqin suddenly remembered that the medicinal dregs in his room were gone. Could it be that it was also eaten by Invincible Dog? After thinking about it, Xiaoqin turned around and left the room. He picked up Invincible Dog, who was walking back and forth with his 5 backs and 6 beasts. Invincible Dog saw Xiaoqin running out angrily, and was a little scared. It subconsciously wanted to run away, and when it ran forward, Xiaoqin almost didn't catch it. Aya, what the F***, are you a magician-level dog? Xiaoqin felt that at this moment, the strength that Invincible Dog showed when it ran away was actually at the level of a magician level 1. It was simply unbelievable. Woof woof. Invincible Dog looked at Xiaoqin innocently and barked twice. It was afraid that Xiaoqin would beat it up. Forget it, if you ate it, then you ate it. Xiaoqin was a little speechless. The dog at home could still eat medicine to level up. What kind of world was this? Why did everything change after he fell off the cliff? Woof woof. Invincible Dog saw that Xiaoqin didn't have any intention of blaming it, and immediately became happy. This dog is quite understanding. Xiaoqin shook his head and said, forget it, you stay here and look after the house. I'll go buy some medicinal herbs for you. Woof woof. Invincible Dog seemed to be able to understand and barked twice again. Xiaoqin turned around and got into his car. He left this somewhat sad place and drove towards the Xiao family's compound. He was going to find out whose property this villa belonged to and then buy it. Although he no longer lived here, this place left too many memories for Xiaoqin. It was here that he grew up step by step and obtained his current strength. The Supernatural Investigation Bureau's matter was no secret. Xiaoqin had officially taken over as the deputy director. The previous Yang Jianan was killed by Xiaoqin because of his perverse behavior and evil deeds. Although the official notice only mentioned it lightly, the Qin family of Songning was finished all of a sudden. Qin Huanling couldn't believe this was true. Yang Jianan was actually dead? Killed by Xiaoqin? How was this possible? However, the notice posted in the warrior guild couldn't be wrong. Qin Huanling didn't wait for anyone to inform him and dejectedly returned to the Qin family from the warrior guild. He knew that from now on he wouldn't have any say in the warrior guild. These opportunistic people would probably hit the Xiao family while they were down in the future. But what could the Qin family do? Qin Huanling, Qin Zhantian, and Qin Wuxian were sitting in the Qin family's conference room. If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. Qin Jinping secretly fawned on Xiao Yuliang to deal with Xiaoqin was actually acquiesced by the Qin family. Now the Xiao family had become the largest family in Songning, and the Qiao family didn't even dare to fart. The Cheng family, the mastermind behind the scenes, had long become yesterday's news. Every time Xiaoqin came back he would bring changes to the Xiao family. Just like this time, everyone knew that Xiaoqin was the deputy director of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. The Xiao family was even more crowded. Those aristocratic families and small families all came to visit and congratulate them. However, Xiaoqin didn't have the mood to see any of them. He let his second uncle and grandfather handle all of them. Brother, you are now the deputy director of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau and the master of the Outer Wulin Devil Sect? Xiao Xiao looked at Xiaoqin with some surprise. She didn't expect Xiaoqin to achieve so much in just half a year. It's just some empty identities. Xiaoqin shook his head. Is there anything going on at home recently? As soon as Xiaoqin came back, he saw his grandfather and second uncle were busy entertaining guests. So he could only ask Xiao Xiao about family matters. It's all right. I just miss you. Xiao Xiao said this and lowered her voice. Brother, can you not let Yu Xiaochuan stay in our house? What's wrong with him? Xiao Chen was stunned. This person seems to have a mental problem. He's a pervert. I always feel that he likes to pretend to be a woman. Xiao Xiao said, moreover he talked to me a few times. I can feel that he seems to have a love for you. This. Xiao Chen actually noticed it. Tang Tang also talked to him about this problem before. Who knows? I guess he may have a tendency to be feminine, but he is also very pitiful. Don't say that he is a pervert. Okay. Xiao Xiao didn't say anything else after Xiao Chen said so. I just feel that it's weird. If that's the case, he might as well go through a sex change operation and become a woman. Why does he have to do this? He's in so much pain and I feel awkward watching him. Let him be. Xiao Chen shook his head. He also felt that Yu Xiaochuan was becoming more and more feminine, but this was not something he could change. It was probably the sequelae of practicing the chrysanthemum treasure book. By the way, brother, how many days will you stay at home this time? Xiao Xiao asked. I don't know yet. I'll see if there are any tasks. If there are no tasks, I'm going to go to the outer martial arts world and investigate my father's situation. Xiao Chen said, by the way, I want to ask you something. Your classmate Li Xiener, is she like a normal person at school? Li Xiener? Xiao Xiao was slightly stunned. She didn't understand why Xiao Chen suddenly asked this question. Is it the girl who was bullied at the resort last time? Yes, that's her. Xiao Chen nodded. Xiao Xiao thought for a moment. When she first entered junior high school, she was a very ordinary girl. There was nothing special about her. Her academic performance was average, and her appearance was not outstanding. But later, maybe a girl changes 18 times between childhood and adolescence. Now she has become one of the campus belles of our junior high school. Also, her brain seems to be more useful and her academic performance has improved a lot. There are many pursuers at school. Our class monitor had a crush on Li Xiener before. Oh, no wonder he stood up for Li Xiener at that time. Xiao Chen nodded. He had a good impression of Xiao Zhao's class monitor. He said, is there anything else strange about this Li Xiener? That's not it. Li Xiener's personality seems to be a little introverted. She doesn't like to talk very much. She doesn't have any particularly good friends at school. Xiao Xiao thought carefully and then said, brother, why did you suddenly ask this? Could it be that you like Li Xiener? How is that possible? Xiao Chen suddenly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said, that Li Xiener seems to have a secret. She is not an ordinary person. How should I say it? She is similar to me. She may also have special abilities. Ah. When Xiao Xiao heard this, she immediately widened her eyes and looked incredulous. Brother, is what you said true? She is also a superpower user? So powerful? It should be, but don't ask and don't show your attention to her. Help me secretly pay attention to this person. Xiao Chen said. And I understand. Brother, don't worry. Leave it to me. Xiao Xiao said with a smile, I'm the best at acting. I can see that. Xiao Chen smiled. The reason why he paid attention to Li Xiener was that Li Xiener was also a cultivator. She was the only cultivator that Xiao Chen had met since he started his cultivation. Of course, it didn't include those who had died, such as the spirit under the volcanic stone chamber that wanted to possess. By the way, will you sleep with me tonight? Xiao Xiao asked. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.